Everybody's doing and what's going on?
Oh, sure. This is Levoy.
Hey, Levoy, how you doing? You got Nighthawk here?
Yes.
Just wanted to call in and see if we get some daily updates, what's going on out there and how everybody's doing and what's going on.
Oh, sure. It's Monday, and so I don't, kind of the worst time to actually do things in the media cycle is what the NBC reporter told me is on Fridays and Saturdays, and unfortunately we did one of the most important things here on Saturday. I don't know if you had a chance to follow what happened Saturday here.
Yeah, I caught quite a bit of that.
Okay, excellent. Well, that is definitely the most major thing that has happened outside of us just coming here and taking over the refuge center here. To have those ranchers stand up and sign that declaration of emancipation from those federal contracts is
right.
Just an amazing thing.
I think you guys are doing a fantastic job out there. Getting, things are actually starting to happen now. So,
yes. And so we let the media know the first of the week that this Saturday, which was last Saturday, we were going to have a signing ceremony, and we had a rancher with a lot of grit, Adrian Sewell from Silver City, Mexico, and he says, I'm ready to stand up for the Constitution. He sat down with Hammond, and they took the time to go over all those parts of the Constitution, until he had a clear understanding of, he knew it was wrong, but by the time he was done, he had the points of the law and the points of the Constitution, so that he had an understanding where he stood at in relationship to the law. He flew out here, and he was the third person in America to sign that Emancipation Proclamation and say, I no longer will recognize the federal government as the overlord of these lands. I shall uphold the state and the counties, and I shall ranch on these lands as a free man. I will uphold the rights of the hunter to access, and the rights of the camper and the recreationalist, and we shall live in these lands as we have been doing for 100+ years successfully, and without that overreaching, overbearing hand of the federal government.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, Sherry had to go home. She's going to try to come back out there and work with you guys some more as soon as we can get her out there. Funding's always an issue, and they got their own ranch to run.
Right. And the thing of it is that after he signed it, there's a Harney County rancher says, you know what? I'm done with this. I am through with this oppression. And
that's awesome.
He walked right in there and, spilled his heart on all the things he has seen over the years here. He said, let me see that. I'm signing it. So he signed it. And then 8 ranchers in Utah stood up and signed those Emancipation Proclamations. And they were, so now you have 10. For 20 years it was 1, Clive and Bundy. In one day you've got 10. And now this Friday we have a rancher on his own that's home in the county next to us in Malheur County, and he's going to stand up and counsel his, and he's got other ranchers going to stand beside him. And so, and then we had actually just about a half hour ago kind of a delegation of ranchers from Montana that came here. And so you're seeing an awakening in a country of requiring the federal government to say no longer will we bow down to this.
Yeah, I seen today that Grant County, right, I think it's right next to Harney County, ain't it?
Yes. Yeah, they reached out to us last week and said that the citizens there, and my understanding is they got a really tough sheriff there that's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, he was.
Said, could you come and talk with us?
Yeah, he did an interview on the internet today, and had called the sheriff up there and said, they really need to go to an effort to get the FBI out of there and to release the Hammonds. But that in my opinion, the Hammonds are political prisoners at this point.
Oh, absolutely they are. I mean, how is it that we as Americans can sit by and say, well, yeah, it didn't happen to us. Some bad things happen to good people, and so that's just Hammond's law, and we'll forget about them and move on with our daily lives. And why is it that we say that this is supposed to be the new normal, that we must sit by as citizens and accept such an atrocity and say, well, we exhausted all the political and all the legal avenues, and so there's no more we can do, and we're citizens of laws, and so we'll just meekly stay in line and say, well, it's not just, but what else can we do? And we're saying, no way. No way. You doubt yourself.
I think it's just been the educational system of the years, and then the media spin and all that kind of stuff has just kind of put everybody thinking that this is the normal, in which we are a country ruled by regulations and ordinances, and not a law that is laid down. So.
What we have is that we're supposed to have a republic where our laws are we have representatives that represent us. But let's consider the reality of it. We all know about the National Registry. 120,000 pages a year is placed on the National Registry, and if there is nobody that opposes that regulation that's put on there just by somebody gets in a room and says, well, we'll make this a regulation, it becomes law. And, I probably shared this with you, but one of my favorite movies is The Gladiator. I don't like how violent it is. And so, but having said that, there's some real principles in there that we should listen to. And remember, Commodus, he's the emperor. And he just killed his father, and he's mad at the Senate. He says, I'm about ready to disband the Senate. And his sister says, oh, brother says, let the people have their illusions. And that's what we have. We have an illusion of a republic. We have an illusion of a representative form of government, and we do not.
No, we don't. We don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we absolutely do not. My daughter has a lot of friends, and they don't get educated correctly. When I went to school, we had government and current events classes, and they were required. And they just aren't now. And American history, I remember when she brought her American history book, I used to go through all her books when she brought them home from school, when I could get her to bring them home from school so I could look at them. Mm-hmm. And, and there are so many mistakes and falsehoods in there. And, the leaders of the American Revolution was actually kind of portrayed as if they were terrorists. And,
right.
And just stuff like that. Well, her friends used to come over here, and, and they come into into the radio station, they hear all the stuff we're talking about. And of course, they're young kids, so they're fascinated by the fact I got 6 monitors in front of me at all times.
well,
But the point I'm trying to make is I would sit down and start explaining this stuff to them, and it's like a new light came into their eyes.
Yeah.
They want to know this stuff. They just don't get taught it. And when they started learning this stuff, it was like a light just popped on in their eyes. And then they would come back and just sit here riveted while I explained this stuff to them for hours.
Well, because it's a true principle. And so it strikes upon the chords of the soul. And people respond to the principles of freedom. And so when they hear it, they see it. They recognize it as truth. And then they respond to it. Good people do. People that love power and control, they don't respond so well. They hate it, actually. They do it.
Oh, they detest it. I had some issues with my network, and we got it turned back on today, and the phone guy said that my fiber network was shut down remotely. The logs were erased. There's only 2 people that can do that. That's Windstream and the government. That's it.
Yep.
So,
and you need to understand that this is we're battling for the hearts and minds right now of freedom, and so we're battling for the souls of men to stand up and be free. And so you get attacked in many ways. This rancher, Adrian Sewell, as soon as he signed that, his poor wife was hammered online, the death threats, the attack. And, he says, I thought there, I knew there'd be some pushback, especially I had no idea it would be so quick and so filthy and so venomous. And so you need to understand that when you strike upon that power structure, that there are agents that want to hold that up, and they become unleashed. And as a poor young man and a young family, they have been just hammered, but they got courage, and they're standing their ground.
Right.
And that's the thing that I have found that is most lacking as I have dealt with people. They understand that the understanding comes into their eyes and as we teach these things and the light goes on. But then they say, but if I stand up, they'll come after me. I might be the next Hammond family. And then they say, will you leave? Are you going to leave us if we start standing up? And we commit to them. We shall not leave you. We are not going to come in here and kick an ant in bed and then walk away and let it go crazy. We will stand here.
Right.
To protect all of you who will stand.
Well, here's the question that a lot of people have posed to me is they've said, well, once they can get the community working on board and get the community to come out there and occupy and do that, are you guys going to just stay there, or are you going to jump and move to the next necessary situation? Because there are things like this going on all over the country. You know that as well as I do. I'm preaching to the choir with that.
I got some lost cows that I surely would need to run back and try to find. I'm just a small rancher, so when I start losing a few cows, it takes a big bite out of me. And so, I'd love to go back and spend some time at home, but I have committed to these people that they say, will you leave us? Will you leave us? And I say, we shall not leave a moment too soon.
Well, If you leave too soon, Degrassi's going to get a hold of it. I heard that he canceled tonight's meeting because the community demanded to hear from Ammon. Is that true?
Oh, say that last line again.
I read today that Degrassi canceled the community meeting now, or tonight, that was scheduled tonight, because the community is demanding to hear from Ammon Bundy.
I think that they don't want to hear from Judge Grassi too much anymore. They're going to have a meeting in the schoolhouse, and there wasn't enough people saying, we'll move it to the senior citizen center, and we got to have tickets, and you got to go through a scanner, and you got to show your ID. And I think everybody says, you know what? I don't want to do that. And I believe nobody ever wanted to show up. So says, it's all canceled. I better say it's because of security concerns. That's what I think how it really went down.
Well, and here comes another constitutional freedom, the right to peaceful assembly.
Yeah, you better go through a scanner, better show your ID, and and you're not welcome if you don't fit the parameters that we want.
Right, and walk by their gold-fringed flag.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even understand that when you go into a courtroom now, it has nothing to do with constitutional courts. It's admiralty court and monetary court, and that's because we have a 4-color flag now, and it's because it's got gold fringe around it.
Got gold fringe around it. It's admiralty. That's my understanding. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I just know that it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I had a guy call me. I don't know how he got my home phone number. I think I'm going to have to go enlist it again, but he called and schooled me for like an hour and a half on something I already knew.
Well, maybe send it my way and give me some schooling. I'm still open for lots of education, and it's been a fast learning curve, and I've loved it. And I'm ashamed that I haven't learned it earlier. I'm well over 50 years old, and I should have been on the forefront of this a long time ago, but I'm trying to make up for ground right now. Lost ground.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to Jason there, asking if he had anything he wanted to ask you. We're all just so busy jumping around trying to keep up with everything. We've been watching the airport for you guys, and actually posture is down. The number of vehicles is way down for you guys. So
let me just throw this out here. Some of the intel that's coming into it says that for the amount of activity that is seen in town of personnel, that the airport does not is not warranting that that level of activity. And so they are saying that they believe that they have within a 150-mile radius another stage of operation.
They may have. I have been using satellite views to go find possible areas, and I
haven't found anything.
I haven't. There's a lot of things, but they're old satellite photos, so I can't say there's anybody there. But there are several areas, and there's another center a little bit north of you guys. It's like you got to take 3 turns, and it looks like about 18 miles north and east of you guys, and which could be staged, and it doesn't look like anybody's ever there. It's like some kind of like wildlife station or something.
Well, because of you figure that the response time that they need, you figure that the radius would need to be within about 150 miles. You need to look at about a 2-hour lead time.
Right.
And so,
well, I mean that wildlife center or whatever the heck. I don't have your email.
On the County Resource Center.
Yeah. Well, no, it's north and east of you guys. It's a smaller place.
Another one.
Yeah, and you got to go. It's 18 miles or so. That might explain the other intel we got with the guys in the snowmobiles, because they could be on you in 18 minutes in snowmobiles.
Yeah, and so thank goodness all the snow's melting.
Yeah, there you go. I wish mine would. I still got 16 sitting on the ground. And I'm in Kentucky. We don't really get snow here. It was quite a surprise.
Oh, yeah. Hello?
All righty. Well, it looks like that's our Sitrep for the day, folks. Thanks a lot, Levoy. Is there anybody else there that has anything they would like to add?
No, we just say everybody be safe, and we appreciate everybody's prayers, and just letting everybody know that easy does it, steady she goes. We're holding our course, and we're working hard every day.
All right, Levoy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You have a good night, and everybody stay safe and warm.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night. All right, this is Nighthawk Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Running this up to YouTube with the Daily Situation Report with Levoy Finicum. Thank you very much. We are out. All right, you got Nighthawk here with part 2 of the Situation Update Report in Oregon. As you heard, we just got off the phone with Levoy Finicum out at the refuge. Part 2 of this, we have Sherry from redoubtnews. Who has a little bit of news that came out today about the town meeting that has been canceled in Burns, Oregon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Sherry?
Yeah, Judge Grasty canceled his weekly community meeting. At first, they said they were having trouble at the school because of all the guns that were being displayed. Now, Oregon is an open carry state. And most of the people around there right now are expecting to see ranchers and the militia, et cetera, carrying the guns. Well, apparently the school filed a complaint about the guns being on the premises, so they decided to move the meeting from the school to the senior center.
Right.
So that also reduces how many people can be in there, because I believe the senior center has a capacity of about 150.
All right.
So Judge Grasty took that opportunity to say that only Harney County residents will be allowed into the meeting. They're going to have tickets. People have to have a ticket to get in. And then they have to show proof of residency, with their ticket to actually enter the room. Well, that caused kind of an uproar. And there were rumors that they were going to have a protest actually blocking the senior center, not letting anybody in there. Well, again, those are rumors. I don't know what's going on with that one.
Yeah, we got to get you back out there.
Yeah, I got to get back out there.
I have some more. I have some more funding in here for you to get you back out there. So, as long as I can get Stuart, as long as I get Stuart to help. Stuart's got to help me like he did last time. I can cover it.
Well, we will definitely talk. I want to get back out there. There's a lot happening. But Judge Grasty took that opportunity to actually cancel the meeting and he blamed it on this possible protest and such like that. People are really upset over it. They feel like, again, their rights are being shut down.
Right.
The residents there, they want to have their say.
Well, yeah, and I heard they want to hear Eamon talk, and and here again we have yet another attack on constitutional freedoms, the right to peaceful assembly.
Exactly. They do want to hear Eamon talk. They don't necessarily know if they're going to agree with him, but they have yet to hear what he has to say, most of them. He's been talking to people, but he hasn't talked to, that large of a group that have been asking to talk to him.
Right. Well,
and Judge Grassley is doing everything he can to keep Eamon from talking to anybody.
Which makes me wonder if maybe, they had that ceremony this weekend. Maybe they should have a community meeting at the refuge. That would be a really good idea and kind of show that, everybody that's actually gone out there, they're always afraid they're going to be walking into, the middle of Afghanistan, and then they go out there and go, wow, I feel safer here than I did in town.
Well, I did. It was very comfortable there. I'm not sure if they have a building large enough to house enough people, because most of their buildings are a little smaller, and I'm not sure anybody wants. Well,
I mean, it's warmed up. I hear the snow's melting, and I'm sure everybody there's out there's used to a little bit of cold, right?
Well, to a point, yeah. But who wants to sit there and hang out outside if they don't have to? You're going to find a lot of people don't want to.
Right.
Maybe there's a lot of older people that cold would get to them. Things like that.
Well, they've been. Here's another idea, and being a musician all my life, there are companies that rent huge tents that are heated, and they put bleachers up. And I know they have some pretty effective donations coming in there to actually hire a tent company to come out there and put a PA in there and actually do a community right there. The tents aren't hugely expensive. It's like $1,500 for the whole setup and all the chairs and everything else. And they sent out I don't think they include circus clowns or anything, but, it's basically a big circus tent. And they're usually heated. If you request heat, they heat them, the gas heat them, so.
That's an option. That's certainly an option.
I'll have to talk to Levoy about that tomorrow, because that's an idea.
That'd be an interesting conversation. I'll be listening to that one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You've been doing some good updates.
I'm also, I'm still trying to find a Native American, actual full-blooded person to go out there and help negotiate, or at least, create a bridge between these guys and the Paiute tribe so we can just get them back their artifacts. I don't see any reason for them to be sitting in that basement. And, anybody could have come in and stole that stuff. I live, my farm's on a mound builder area, and I plow stuff up. I get it every year. I get stuff that I collect, and some of this stuff is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
So anybody at any time could have come in, and who's to say people haven't already gone in and picked through the good stuff and sold it off. So.
But did you see that the Paiute tribe did a press release today asking for the FBI to, step up their efforts?
Which makes no sense, because why would the Native Americans call for the federal government to do anything when the federal government has never been anything but deal breakers with them?
Well, they've got, what they think they've got is a treaty with them. They signed the treaty, but it was never ratified by Congress. So they don't actually have a treaty, but they act as if they do, and they want the government to enforce it.
Okay, so anyway, why would a Native American tribe think that the U.S. government would ever honor any kind of treaty? Because they never have, They never will. The only time we've ever seen they honor it is if they give them like a chunk of limestone with absolutely no value with just enough room to put up a parking lot and casino. That's the only treaties they ever honor.
That's true. But if they want to go by their interpretation of this treaty, the government's already broken it because they guaranteed that they would protect the safety and property, but they haven't done that.
No, they absolutely have not. And the property is in these artifacts belong to them, not the U.S. government. So why is it all packed underground in a BLM basement?
Well, that's my problem. Is I don't think anybody's been out there in years and years and possibly decades to even look at them and see what condition they were in.
Right.
But all of a sudden, you get occupiers out there, and they want to use that as an excuse to, cover their own lack of interest.
Right. I don't know. It gets curiouser and curiouser, does it not?
Yes, it does.
All right, Sherry. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up today. That's the situation report for the day. I'm kind of interested in possibly just adding a rather curious call you got from a rather enraged woman, but we're going to wait on that probably till tomorrow.
I need a little bit more checking on that one before we discuss that.
Exactly. So, yeah, there you go. It's a cliffhanger, folks. It's a cliffhanger.
Okay, just make sure you tell everybody to come to redoubtnews.com.
Definitely. Spell that out, please, because I spelled it 32 different ways before I found you.
redoubtnews.com. There
you go. Yeah, I kept spelling it Read, READOUT, Readout News.
I'm going to have to send you back to homeschool. That Common Core isn't working for you, is it?
Well, it sounds like you're saying read out. Read out. Read out. Well, I'm reading out the news. Town crier.
Well, it's news for the American readout. Some people call it redoubt. I've never done that.
Right. Well, I've just...
We're in the middle of free America. Come see us.
Well, once I figured it out and the way you were spelling it when you sent me your badge, I went and searched it and I found the whole thing's about readout, and I kind of like re-educated myself on the actual term itself. So.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day, and you never get old. You never get too old to learn new tricks, but sometimes it just starts to hurt.
Oh, well, we didn't do it on air.
All right. Yeah, that was messed up, man. I mean, my phone guy said there's only two people that could do that. Verizon themselves and the U.S. government.
And Anonymous.
Well, why would Anonymous do it? Because the story we were getting ready to cut, Anonymous already broke anyway, in another way.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So.
And
I'm friends with
Verizon, they're not going to mess with you.
Yeah, and I got ties in that community anyway. So. Yeah, and it was really funny. Right after I get done talking about this on an earlier show, Sherry, I get up to go to the kitchen. To get some ice, and as I'm going past my kitchen door, there's two state cops getting ready to bang on my door.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and my heart came all the way up. It was like beating right along with my Adam's apple. I was like, oh, crap. And what it ended up being, somebody had an accident at the end of my driveway, and they were just telling me they were going to put the guy's car there. But, it's like after you get time talking about all this stuff, and then you turn around, you got two state cops at the door. And these were big old boys. I couldn't have taken them on. They would have whooped my ass.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a good laugh about it. But anyway, they didn't know why I was laughing about it. But
well, you didn't enlighten them. Right?
Oh, hell no, of course not. I didn't go to my door with the AR. Oh, no, officer, I was just
I'm going to let you go so you can go to bed. It sounds like you need it.
Yeah, actually, I just got up. I'm just kind of slap happy from being tired, I guess. I don't know. All right, you have a good night.
All right, take care.
All right, talk to you later. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, situation report for the day. It is January 25th, 2016. Oh, I don't know. Right around sometime, 7 o'clock or so. So, catch you guys tomorrow. Good night. All right, yeah, we're going to stick around a little bit. Let's see, check. Yeah, I'm here. We're going to stick around a little bit. I had a Sitrep yesterday, but our network got shut down. I mean, literally shut down, and we weren't able to do it. We have Levoy, Finicum. There's just a ton of people on here on this next one. I did fix the spelling for redoubtnews. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry. I can't spell, but I can count the potato. I like nuts. Anyway, I don't know. Sue me. Anyway, so I got that fixed. You see the badges. It's redoubtnews. Levoy Finicum has joined us. We'll have several other people. The Stuart Rhodes will be in the next bit. Sergeant Major. A lot of people that are on the ground, just kind of letting us know what's up. So this is yesterday's situation report that I was not able to publish due to my network being shut down by mysteries unknown. The phone guy said, your entire fiber got network, and the only thing that was left working was basically the ghost wire that he ran for me because he listens to the station, all that kind of stuff. If they had known about that, we would have been down for 2 days, completely down. But somebody came in after I got a little too close to some truths and closed us down immediately after that, including shutting down redoubtnews. So anyway, here's yesterday's broadcast. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Sergeant Major Joseph Santoro, who is boots on the ground. He is the operational commander of the Oath Keepers there, who are falling under the umbrella of the PPN. And so anyway, I want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors that are making this show possible. First off, I want to make sure that everyone knows that we need to do our part to help keep Revolution Radio on the air. Mike Hawk, as you guys know him, Mike Hawk does so much for trying to get the news out there. He's actually put his money right where his mouth is and put the funds up for Sherry Duvall, who's the Redoubt News person who's been live streaming all week. That's been in conjunction with Oath Keepers, getting a lot of great information out there. So he's doing a whole lot there. So I really want to encourage folks, if you love what you get here at Revolution Radio, go out to the website, which is freedomslips.com, click on that donate button, and do your part to help keep this message of truth going out there. You're getting stuff here that you get nowhere else. I mean, I am tapped into the Patriot community here just by the nature of what I do for my daytime job. I'm one of the associate editors and the national media director for Oath Keepers. So I'm always writing. I'm always doing videos. I'm always talking with the people that are in the news cycle. Really before things start happening. So anyway, we're going to be having updates. We're going to bring on Sam Culper, who is he runs Forward Observer Magazine. He's also head of our intelligence department for Oath Keepers on a national level. If you haven't checked out Forward Observer Magazine, go check it out. I believe the website is readfo.com, and it is a magazine written for the Patriot community, for the militia community, liberty community, whatever, the American people, explaining intelligence, military intelligence. He's written a book on it, the SHTF Intelligence Plan, I believe is the name of the book. So we're going to bring him in, get a situational report from this week. We're going to bring Stuart on. We're going to bring Sergeant Major on. I think Sherry's coming on. Hawk's going to be joining us. Also want to, before we get to all that, some of the other sponsors that make this show possible. Katie Armor. Actually, when I went down to Burns, Oregon, Brian Moore made sure that he took time out of everything he was doing, running his business, to hand deliver me some level 4 armor to make sure that I was going to be safe there if things did get hot. This is some of the best armor out there, folks. If you haven't looked into body armor, now's the time to start doing so. It's level 4, level 3. It's some of the best out there for some of the best prices. A lot of people think they can't afford a body armor. Go check out Cati Armor, CATI Armor.com, and see just how affordable those prices are. Also, the Northern Idaho Training Center, where I do a lot of my tactical training. We got some videos coming out there, one of our sponsors, as well as Numana Foods, who has donated food to both Bundy Ranch. They're donating food to the situation in Oregon. They are also big members of the Patriot community. And folks, we've got to support those businesses, those individuals that help us go out there and do what we need to do to keep that torch of liberty shining bright. So, all right, first thing I'm going to do is try to get Sam. Actually, I'm going to add Stuart on, see if we can get him on, and then see if we can get Sam on for his intelligence report. So I'm going to do I'm producing the show as I go here, folks. So just bear with me as I get these calls lined up. We're going to do some call-ins with some of these. So if you got messages, I'm only going to take calls when we say we're taking calls. So if you call and try to get on before then, I'm just going to decline the call. So wait for me to do it, and then I'll put you on air in order. I ask that you keep it civil and respectful. And, I'm going to cut off anything that's not being that. We also won't divulge anything that's going to jeopardize operational security there on the ground for our guys that are there in the buffer zone. But we'll give out that call-in information. I'm also in the chat room. My handle there is the Patriot Prepper from my first show here on Revolution Radio. So if you'd like to, I will be monitoring the chat room, and we'll be giving out questions to the different people that we're going to be bringing on from there as well. So, okay, let's go ahead and get Stuart. Actually, whoops, I just added Hawk. Sorry about that. Not yet. I wasn't supposed to do that. So I'm going to add Stuart first. So bear with me while I get these people lined up. I need to get some elevator music for when I'm doing this. All right, here we go. Stuart Rhodes is, of course, the founder and president of Oath Keepers.
Yeah.
Stuart, this is Jason. You're live on the air with the Patriot Report.
Jason, can we call back in just about half an hour?
Sure. I was going to get Sam on earlier because he wasn't feeling well. Did you want to be a part of that? I can ask him to wait a little bit if need be.
Either way, it's up to you. I need about half an hour.
Okay. I'll call you back in a half hour.
Great, thanks.
All right. All right, folks, joy of live radio, and I got to tell you, when we have operations going like this, it is always a fluid cluster mess, so you just got to go with the flow. So let's see if we can get Sam on, and we can always go back to a recording for Stuart and go from there. He already knows what's going on. He talks with him all the time. All right, here we go. Let me get Sam Culper again. He is head of intelligence for Oath Keepers National. He's also the editor and publisher of Forward Observer magazine, which is a great magazine. They've got a print version, they've got an online version, and he also does classes all across the country teaching patriots about basic intelligence. We've got to have the same tools that the powers that be have and be able to use them as effectively. So here we go. Here's Sam Culper. Let's see if we can get him added. And we are always a little bit of phone roulette.
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Hey, Sam. This is Jason. You're live on the air with the Patriot Report. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, doing well. Just fighting a cold. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. I just let our listeners know that you weren't feeling well, and we wanted to get you on real quick, give the update. I was just telling them about your Forward Observer magazine and the books that you do and the classes that you do. So please, for the new listeners that may not have heard you on the show before on the Liberty Brothers show, this is a new show now, same spot, but please give us a quick background as to what your background is, why you do what you do.
Sure. Well, I was an Army and contract intelligence analyst from 2004 to 2012. And I left my job in 2012 because I just didn't feel right about what I was doing. Growing up, we were always taught time, talent, and treasure, and to be good stewards of all of those things. And so really for time and talent, I looked at the government and what we were doing in Iraq and Afghanistan, not committed to the mission and really not committed to keeping the homeland safe either. So I decided to strike out on my own and start teaching patriots intelligence skills. And that's how I've wound up here today.
Awesome. Well, I sure appreciate what you do. I've been privileged to see your classes in action and read your material. So, yeah. So why don't you give us a update as to the Sitrep you just put out, as to what your thoughts and views are as to what's happening there in Burns, Oregon, and the surrounding area.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say this. I was only there for a handful of days just to kind of get my bearings straight and realize what was going on. And really all the credit should go to the Pacific Patriots Network. Those guys have been there on the ground for several weeks now, close to 3 weeks now. And, and they've been there. They've been spending their own money, their own time. And so for me just to be there for a few days and then start pushing out information at Sitreps is I'm kind of stealing their thunder. So I just want to make that first part known to everyone. So we have definitely seen a buildup in the FBI presence there in Burns. They're staged out of the Burns Municipal Airport. And so we were talking to a couple guys last night, and we do feel that there's enough presence there, equipment and tactical teams to put a cordon in place around the refuge, or at least to start putting up checkpoints and controlling the flow of personnel and supplies into the refuge. And really, the big question for me is, why haven't they done this sooner? Why did they allow the Bundys and the other occupiers to go in there, start receiving supplies, and entrench themselves at the refuge? And that's a big question for me.
That really is a big question that's out there in general. They followed none of their usual protocol whatsoever. They haven't, cordoned things off. They haven't sent in a negotiator. Actually, the only interaction that's happened is when, either Ammon Bundy or the Patriot communities have gone and interacted with them. And at first they were telling us all to go away. Do you have any thoughts as to why that might be?
Well, it's a phenomenal intelligence collection opportunity for the FBI, especially in that region. I'd say the American Redoubt is one of the top regions for Patriot activity, for, these kind of red lines where, Americans come together and they say, look, we're not going to allow another Waco here. We're not going to allow the federal government to go into a place like this, kill and capture everyone that they can, especially as we look at what happened in Waco and Ruby Ridge. So I think there's two key takeaways here. Number one is that the presence of these Americans, I think, threw a wrench in the decision-making process, because all of a sudden the FBI said, well, we can't just go in here and clean house because there are going to be consequences and repercussions. And then the second thing is they said, well, and of course this is just my personal opinion, and but the second thing is, I think they realized that with the influx of people and the sentiment and people using social media to make their opinions known, I think this is a good opportunity for them to identify who are the most extreme, or who are in their eyes, the most extreme, who are the most violent, and really it's a very good intelligence collection opportunity for them.
Yeah, it really is. And we kind of saw, with what they were doing with Jade Helm, seemed like they were practicing some of that anyway, intelligence collection in situations like that. Do you think any of the stuff they worked on at Jade Helm has any application with the intelligence gathering they're doing there?
Well, Jade Helm was really for the special operations units. And, I'm not so conspiratorial. about Jade Helm. I never thought it was, anything other than what they had stated, which was to train special operations in a, kind of a realistic, real-time environment where they can go in, they can train, they can focus on building rapport with community members. And that's really kind of the Special Forces mission set anyway, is to go into an area, link up with indigenous forces, train them up, and and work with them to complete the mission. So, we're also looking at different entities. We're looking at the FBI here in Burns, and we're looking at Special Forces groups in the areas where Jade Helm was practiced, and some other special operations units and even conventional units. So really, I don't think the two are related because they're separate entities. One's federal law enforcement, the other is military, DOD.
Gotcha. That's why I like having you to ask these questions, because I certainly don't have all those answers. Hey, we've got another one of the radio hosts here on the channel with us. David, did you want to ask a question of Sam? Is that why you wanted to jump in here? David, you still here?
I am still here. At this point in time, no. It's just I want to jump in here just to make sure that we had everything solid as far as in the background. We're good right now.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, Sam. Well, we appreciate it. What do you think this week's going to hold? Do you think anything big might happen? Do you think we're going to see any sort of movement? What's on your radar for this next week with Oregon? What are you going to be looking at specifically?
Well, I certainly do think that they're setting the conditions to move forward operationally. One thing that they've lacked is, or seemingly lacked, is the personnel and equipment there to set a cordon around the refuge area. One thing that I'm specifically looking for is the presence of armor, things like Bearcats, the Bearcat armored vehicles, MRAPs, Cougars, Buffaloes, any variation of the MRAP vehicles, because I don't expect them to move forward without some kind of armor. So once we start seeing armor in that area, in the AO, then I really think that action is imminent. And when I say action is imminent, I don't mean that a raid is imminent. I mean the FBI going down there, initiating negotiations down at the refuge instead of waiting for Ammon to come to them. And really that's as we look at the, let's call it the standard operating procedure, that does appear to be one of their first steps, is to secure the area, make contact, and I think they're going to treat this similar to a hostage situation. Even though there's no hostages at the refuge, I think a lot of that protocol will probably be very similar.
And what does that protocol look like?
Well, negotiating, first of all. There's been open source, media reporting that there are children there. So the first thing that I think they would need to do is to get the children out, to negotiate a release, to negotiate, some way that they can minimize the potential for casualties. And, it's hard to say because everything that I've said is logical. However, what we saw in Waco was illogical for us, but very logical for them. And so I do think that there's a part of this community, or maybe a part of the decision makers in D.C. or elsewhere, that say we cannot allow this to stand. We have to go and put our foot down, because the Bundy event and Sugar Pine Mine, these types of events are just going to grow more numerous, where the American people are going to come together and say, no, we're not going to stand for this. We're not going to stand for federal encroachment or federal incursion or federal violation of someone's rights. And so I think there's a kind of a level of cognitive dissonance there, where they say we have to stop these types of actions on one hand, but on the other hand, if we stop it here, we're going to be kicking the hornet's nest. And I think that's one reason why this cycle has been so long. This is why we're in the third week of this of the refuge occupation, for those reasons.
Right. Absolutely. Now, you actually, we saw some Bearcats move through the area. Of course, there was a big social media uproar about how they were moving things in. And you were of the opinion, I think you actually took some of those pictures, possibly, that they were just moving through the area, right? They weren't actually going there.
Well, here's the deal. So the guy stopped, and the truck driver stopped in Burns. So this was not a Bearcat being driven. This is a Bearcat on a trailer. The truck driver stopped in Burns at this gas station to get some kind of orange energy drink, and then he took off, headed west towards Bend, Oregon. Now, you know, I took one of the photos, and I did upload it to Facebook because I think it's important that people understand what's going on there. And so, you know, I said, you know, later I said that the Bearcat didn't stay in Burns. We followed it out of town. And so the next question is, well, if it's not in Burns, then where is it? And, you know, that's a question that we can't answer, but through some intelligence analysis, we can begin, you know, identifying where it might be or some of the most likely locations. I look at Bend and I say, you know, it's there's an FBI office there already, and Bend is would be a decent staging area for something like that for armor, because it's in a large enough city where there's already enough organic security that they can you know, protect it, or at least protect the whereabouts of this stuff. And it's also accessible to Burns. So that's my personal opinion. Of course, if it's in Eugene or Salem or some other town, then I don't really look at that as a you know, okay, so if it's on the West Coast somewhere, then it's probably not related to Burns. But if it's in Bend, I would be willing to bet that it is related to Burns.
Gotcha. All right, Sam. Well, we know.
If I could just say one thing, you know, what are the chances, from a likelihood standpoint, what are the chances that, you know, 3 or 6 or 8, 10 months ago, whatever the delivery time frame is, what are the chances that 6 months ago someone ordered a Bearcat, and then this weekend, or excuse me, last weekend, it just happened to drive through Burns? I'd say the likelihood, I mean, it's not impossible. I'd say the likelihood's low. I'm willing to bet that the Bearcat is in relation to Burns, and I bet we see that. If they do bring armor in, I'm willing to bet that we see that Bearcat again.
I do have a question for Sam, though. Sam, what's your opinion on all the drash tents going up in preparation?
Oh, say it one more time.
What's your opinion on all the drash tents going up?
Oh, the modular tents?
Correct.
The command posts. I mean, we look at the antennas out there. There's a directional microwave antenna, and a cell on wheels, and you know, I mean, it may be building. It may be somewhere where those guys can keep their PlayStations and Xboxes, because frankly, it's pretty boring there. Nothing's going on right now, and so it's a command post somewhere where they can have somewhere where the FBI can have operations, and it's protected from the elements. It's compartmentalized. They can control the access, whereas if they're operating in the building at the Burns Municipal Airport, you know, it's more difficult because there's still, you know, public and commercial foot traffic through there. So it's a command post. I mean, you couldn't call it anything else, I don't believe.
Hey, Sam, we've got Levoy coming on here in just a few minutes, and he's holding off on Fox News to talk with us. So just wanted to, you're welcome to join us with Levoy, but I've got to add him to the conversation at this point. But I know you had to go. You weren't feeling well. So it's up to you, my friend, if you would like to stay on and hear what Levoy has to say. Otherwise, we'll let you go and get rested up.
Yeah, sure. I'll stay on and listen. Thanks, Jason.
Sure thing. Let me get Levoy on. Hold on. All right, folks, we're adding Levoy Finicum. He's one of the leaders of the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom there at the ranch, and he is actually holding off Fox News to speak with us. Man, that's just awesome. I love Levoy. He is just a true cowboy, true American hero. If you haven't heard my interviews with him, they are up on oathkeepers.org. Just do a search for Levoy Finicum. try that back. Let me just double check the number here. Give us a second here, folks. Sam, while we're trying to add him, is there anything else you wanted to add on things?
Sure. It just goes back to the FBI and who's making the decisions and whether or not those decisions are in the best interest of Harney County and the nation. I think the FBI presence, frankly, I don't think that it's warranted. In their eyes, I'm sure they do. And, of course, they may have some extra money to spend, which is why they have such a large presence there. But, this thing could be resolved peacefully. It absolutely could be by the sheriff of Harney County if he was inclined. And I don't believe that he is inclined. And, going back, this is kind of a surface issue. What's going on in Harney County is a lot of corruption. The place is very corrupt from what's going on with BLM, the amount of money that they're paying individuals, how they're taking land from ranchers to build a refuge, and just in general how the BLM is treating ranchers all over the West. And it really is, unless you understand the relationship of public land and the American people in the West, it can be kind of a difficult issue to grasp. And so really, I think one of the reasons why we've not seen any action is, well, let me back up. The amount of corruption there, it's going to be uncovered. It's being uncovered right now through documents and, I think that we ought to wait for that stuff to come out. The FBI's real presence in Harney County should be investigating, because they're the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It should be investigating the corruption there instead of, threatening and intimidating the locals and Ammon Bundy, because, Ammon's not a violent guy. He's come into town. He comes and goes, and, I'm sure the FBI doesn't appreciate that. But I don't think that the FBI, all those guns and tactical teams, that's just not necessary. The sheriff could resolve it if he was so inclined.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Now, apparently, I guess he had to take the Fox interview, so we'll go back to him in about 30 minutes or so. Did you want to try taking some questions on the phone line, or what are you thinking, Sam? I want to give you the freedom to go if you're not feeling too well. But I want you to stay if you can. Okay.
Yeah, whatever you need, Jason. I can stick around.
Cool. So, folks, if you want to ask Sam Culper, Forward Observer, some questions here, you can call the studio lines 310-421-4053. Again, that's 310-421-4053. While we're waiting, I'm going to also bring on Sherry Duvall of Redoubt News, and we'll have her give us an update after we take a couple caller questions, if the caller questions come in.
Yeah, I personally have noticed an extreme, uptick in the posturing of the local law enforcement in Burns. I mean, when we went in and interviewed those guys, Sherry Duvall, when she went and interviewed those guys, they were just like your local town cops, local sheriffs and all that were there just the middle of last week. And now on the last interview that went in, it's no longer the town cop with the sidearm and it's just deputy uniform and, jacket and stuff. But yesterday we're seeing guys in full tactical gear with AR hanging off their shoulder and all that. A couple of them actually at the courthouse. So we are seeing an up of the posture.
We are. Hey, Sam, let me ask you this, too. It kind of goes along with that posturing. Did you see the video that surfaced today that they've actually caught one of the FBI guys that was there in the background of one of these videos when I think it was Ammon or one of these guys, one of the interactions? Anyway, they've caught him twice now, once posing as one of the protesters for the wildlife refuge, the eco protesters that are coming in, and they have also caught him on the rant or the refuge as one of the patriots. So what are your thoughts there? Do you think they've got a whole bunch of people doing that? Do you think they're going to sit back a little bit now that they've been caught, or ramp things up?
Jason, I'll be real honest with you. It may not be popular, but I don't believe that's the same guy. I talked to the protester on Friday, and the guy is a peacenik environmentalist from Portland. I was also there at the FBI compound at the same time that Pete was there, Pete Santilli. And, I looked at the video. I saw the two guys. Look, my last assignment was a biometrics intelligence, and we did facial recognition on a weekly basis. So I don't, this is my opinion. I don't believe that they're the same guy. I don't. Number one, facial recognition is very difficult when sunglasses and a beanie are being worn because there's no, there are fewer reference points to compare facial structures and facial features. So I looked at the video. I saw the two guys. I don't believe it's the same guy.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and definitely I take your opinion as bearing weight because I don't know. I'm not trained in intelligence, and the guy did look like he could have been the same guy, but I wasn't quite convinced just from the that particular video. But do you think? It makes sense to me that they would be sending people there, that they would have infiltrators if they possibly could.
Yeah, I feel very confident that the FBI has infiltrated the refuge because the guys at the refuge are taking volunteers. They're taking whomever they can get. And so I think I would be very surprised if the FBI did not have an informant or didn't have some undercover guy at the refuge. Now, how idiotic would it be for the FBI to have the same guy who's out there on camera on the Pete Santilli show and then put him in a different pair of sunglasses and a different jacket and send him out to the refuge to pose as an environmental protester? I just don't see it. A lot of times these guys don't make sense, but the FBI is not that stupid.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I went and looked at that in a little more depth when I had some time today, and the goatee isn't quite the same. Us guys, we all shave a little different, and, we shave in it's almost muscle memory pattern when we're shaving in the shower, and the goatee is a tad different, and the eye lines are a little bit different, and the eye color isn't even quite the same with the two comparative pictures that I'm seeing at this point. I just got a chance to actually look at that video about 30 minutes ago in any kind of depth.
And one other thing that they missed also, the FBI agent has a tattoo showing, not much of it, but you see it to the collar line, and the protester didn't. So
I didn't know.
And I have seen.
Sherry, please mute out when you're not on. Otherwise, we get an echo.
Okay, I'm here. Is it okay?
All right, give us a second here. We're going to finish up our conversation. We'll bring you on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that, guys.
So anyway, I see some differences there that is going on, and we've also seen some staging. If you remember the yelling at the guy with the bullhorn thing, I think there's I get a lot of the Santilli church members.
Oh, looks like we might have lost Hawk there.
Yeah, you lost me for a second. Anyway, so I see the church members of the never mind, I won't even go into all that, but I think there's some staging going on a little bit to create some news.
Sam, what advice can you give? Because there's so much, drama on Facebook and misinformation, people freaking out over any little thing. What advice would you give people to try to cut through a lot of that, the stuff that just isn't good intelligence? How can people kind of put together a bullshit radar and cut through some of that? What would your best advice be?
Yeah, just remember that 50% of Americans are dumber than the average American. So, and I don't want to get into name calling, but keep that in mind, okay? So when we're dealing with lots and lots of information, it's just like a very complex algebra problem or some kind of math problem. All right, unless we're tracking this stuff, unless we are writing things down, unless we have a methodical approach of looking at information, we're much more likely to make mistakes. It's like if you have a long division problem. Most people are trying to solve this long division problem in their head, and they just don't have the mental capacity to do it. And it's not their fault. It's just genetics. They didn't win the genius lottery. And so, and me, I'm in that same position, which is why we have to have a structured, methodical approach to intelligence analysis. Most people are just doing this intuitively, and so they're prone to making mistakes. So go back to long division, right? We need to show our work, because when we show our work, we can point to, oh, you made a mistake here, and, you solved for, or in algebra, you solved for X, and you showed your work, and you made a mental error here. You made a simple subtraction or addition error here. And so, we can also look at this like shooting, okay, long-range shooting. Unless you have your basic rifle marksmanship down, unless you're consistently engaging your 25 and 50-meter targets, and and beyond, we got to work our way up to 1,000-meter targets. And the problem is people who can't hit the 25 and 50-meter targets are now behind the rifle trying to hit 1,000 meters, taking on these very complex problems like what's going on in Burns and the Malheur Wildlife Refuge.
Hey guys, I just got a message in from Stuart. He's got to get going here sooner rather than later, so I'm going to add him to the call since Levoy wasn't there. Sherry, I'm going to have you just hold on for a second, and let me bring Stuart on real quick, okay? Hold on, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Stuart, it's Jason. You're live on the air with us. We got Sam on, and how you doing, my friend?
Good to go. Are you bringing Sergeant Major Santoro on, too?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Hey, Sherry, I'm going to go ahead and drop you for now. We're going to bring you back second hour. We got to get this out with Sergeant Major, and then Levoy will come on here probably in about 30 minutes. He's now on ABC and Fox, and then he'll be coming back. We've got Sam on. So let me grab Sergeant Major, and we'll get out that stuff, and then we'll move on to the other stuff. So give me just a second here, folks. Stuart, can you give us a quick introduction for who Sergeant Major is for those listeners who may not be familiar with him?
Yes. Sergeant Major Santoro is retired Sergeant Major of the Army who's on my National Board of Directors of Oath Keepers, and he's our National Operations NCO. He's been there in Burns, Oregon for 2 weeks now, and he's our man on the ground there working with EPN in the buffer operation, and also dialogue with the FBI and Bundy.
While we're waiting, Sam, we had a question in the chat room as to when your next class is.
Been forwarded to an automatic voice.
I'll try that again.
Yeah,
Sam, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we did have a class scheduled this weekend in Virginia, but since they have 100 feet of snow, we had to move it to April. My next class is going to be in College Station, Texas on February the 13th. And we're back in the American Redoubt in late February and March. We're going to do one in Spokane and maybe one in Coeur d'Alene in Montana. So we'll be back out there pretty soon.
Awesome. And where can people
We're
find
trying to put together a class for Sam in Kalispell, Montana, early March, hopefully.
Where can people find do you have that up on your website when your future classes are going to be?
Yeah, we're going to have all that very well organized and put together on the new Port Observer website for I would just say go to readfomag.com, and here in the next couple of days, the new website is going to be put up. And on the right-hand side is going to be my training schedule as well as John Mosby's and probably a couple other guys.
Awesome. All right, we're trying Sergeant Major. I just sent him a text letting him know we're trying to call him, so we'll keep trying here.
Take care of ourselves, be good to each other.
Sergeant Major?
Big government don't need oversight. That is a tyrannical oversight, and I'm not speaking as an religious person. We all know this is the true Father, and you've seen it rise and fall many times over and over throughout the years, I'm sure.
Sergeant Major, you there?
Steve Douglas, all of you, and if you would ask that you show us favor in spite of our inadequacies.
Oh, you got to hang up and call again.
All right.
Some of our intent.
Otherwise, you're listening in without him knowing.
Right.
Not good.
This is the joy of live radio, folks. Just bear with us.
Or I could try him while you guys talk. Either way.
Okay. Sergeant Major.
Sergeant Major. Yes, I'm sorry. We were in the middle of a prayer. I just, I don't know how it connected, but we were praying. So I hope you'll bear with us on that.
Well, I think we can excuse you for praying. That's definitely okay in our book.
Thank you. Okay, what do we got going, Jason?
Sergeant, we are live on the air with the Patriot Report. We've got Stuart on, we got Stan Culper on, so we wanted to get the weekly update, get out the most pertinent information that's transpired this week, where we're sitting now, and what we need to be looking at for next week.
Okay. I have just today gone out and spoke with the FBI because the two agents that I was talking with are transitioning out. As we saw yesterday and the day before, the FBI has done a big changeover in personnel. I've made contact with a new agent who seems to me to be just as sincere as Carl and Craig were, so we've got that door open. They've reiterated to me that they would like to talk with Ammon, and they're continuing to try and facilitate that. Other than that, we've seen a huge changeover in personnel of law enforcement in general here, and that had raised our angst, but I'm telling you, we don't have any armored vehicles, and we don't have any tanks, and we don't see those folks out there at the reserve being starved to death or not allowed to come and go, because they come and go freely every day. There are no roadblocks set up. So the crap that you are seeing out there on the social media, if it does not come from the Oath Keepers or from the PPN network, it's bull. And ignore it and tamp it down where you can, because all that does is create great problems for us here in Burns, Oregon. Anything else that anyone is particularly interested in, you think, Jason?
You know, I'm not sure. Sam, did you have any thing you wanted to ask or add to Sergeant Major or Stuart?
No, I'd just like to reiterate that when you start seeing bearcats or cougars or MRAP buffaloes, et cetera, roll in, then it's time to be very concerned. Until then, I wouldn't expect much to happen. That's my personal opinion.
Now, Sam, in your Sitrep on our website, you mentioned that it's very likely they would bring in some type of armor for a cordon. So just because there's armor present down the road, bearcats, et cetera, does not necessarily mean they're going to assault them. It might mean they're using them for a cordon. Isn't that accurate?
Yeah, because if media reports are true that there are children down there, the first thing they've got to do is cordon off the area and then send down their negotiation team to get in contact with Ammon and the rest of those guys. So I don't expect a tactical nuclear strike and some of these other things that people have said on the refuge. It's a law enforcement matter. They're going to approach it like law enforcement usually does, and that includes negotiating and exhausting all peaceful or quasi-peaceful resolution before they go to violence.
That's what we all hope anyway, although we don't ultimately trust the Obama administration to do it in the same manner, which is exactly why Sergeant Major Santoro and others are there, along with PPN, to try to reemphasize the point that there is no more free Wacos and they have to do this right.
Oh, and I will tell you, Stuart, I reemphasize that to Paul, the fella that I will be talking with from now on, so that he knows, what our position is. I don't want there to be any misunderstandings with this handover, and I think that Carl did a great job of handing it over, and my hat's off to them. At least they're trying. They don't want bloodshed any more than we do, and they're aware of our position. I believe we're aware of their position.
Do you think there's anything?
Sergeant Major,
go ahead.
I was going to ask if you've heard if Ammon has made recent contact with the FBI.
He was on the radio, or pardon me, on a telephone to them. I believe it was yesterday. I don't have a good feel for that because it was simply a video that was pushed out of his vehicle and they put it on Facebook. So I don't know when he actually talked with them, but he is continuing talking to the FBI as of this hour.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we have Levoy Finicum was going to come on and give us an update from the refuge as well. If you guys would like to stay and be a part of that and ask some questions, you're welcome to do that. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we bring him on?
From my standpoint of view, no, I think I've made it pretty concise as about what's occurring. It's all quiet on the Western Front, if you will. So we're all waiting is pretty much what's going on between them and us.
Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you for all the work you're doing, Sergeant Major. You being down here on the ground is just a tremendous asset for us, and there's not a better person I can think of to have there and helping to keeping the cooler heads prevailing. So, again, thank you for the work you're doing, and God bless you, my friend.
Thank you very much. And let's face it, this is a team effort. We're all working towards the same goal, and I appreciate all the work of everybody out there, Oath Keepers, 3%ers. I mean, we're trying to get this to a peaceful and safe and quick resolution, and hopefully that will happen.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to add Levoy now. We're getting him dialed in. Stuart, is there anything else you want to stay on with us?
I'll still want to listen, but you go ahead and do your interview.
All right. Thanks. There we go. He's calling right now.
Thank you, Sergeant Major.
This is Levoy.
Levoy, this is Jason Van Tatenhove. You're live on the air. How you doing, my friend?
Very good, Jason. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with us. I know you're putting off Fox News and ABC and whatnot to come talk to us, and we're just honored that you would do that. So thanks for taking the time to talk with alternative news.
All right. And I'll say hi as well. Hey, Levoy, this is Nighthawk.
Hey, good to talk to you.
So, Levoy, give us an update. What's happening on the refuge? What's transpired this week? What do you expect to be happening next week? What's the most important information we need to know coming directly from the refuge?
Excellent. I'm so glad you called. Yesterday was a momentous day. People don't realize what actually transpired yesterday, but it was very big. Up till now, throughout the last 25 years, there have only been two people that have stood up and signed a Declaration of Emancipation from the BLM and Forest Service. That was first Clive Bundy, and then just about a year and a half ago, I was the second. And yesterday, we had a rancher fly in from New Mexico and sign that in front of national media, and sever all those contracts between him and the Forest Service and BLM. And then a rancher here in Harney County was there watching and says, you know what? I am so tired of what they're doing to us here. And so he jumped in and signed it. So then all of a sudden it doubled from 2 to 4. And then the same day, Saturday, yesterday, 8 ranchers in Cedar City, Utah got together and did the very same thing. So that now makes 10 in one day that have stood up and signed that. And people don't understand that is such a major step to take, because at that point you sever all interfacing with the federal government in relationship to this. You recognize and uphold the county and the state, and you tell the federal government that you are lawless and outside the bounds of the law, that you'll no longer, we even pick up the phone and no longer pay the them a grazing fee, but you recognize the county to support, and that you'll no longer even need to open their envelopes. And so at that point, they become free and independent from that overseership, that lordship. And then we turn around and promise to come and defend them in the event that their sheriff fails to. But those several counties down in Utah, they got some tough sheriffs that are backing them, and actually they're very close to, those two counties are very close to actually throwing the federal government completely out of their counties and becoming federal free counties. That's how major this is getting.
Wow. That is pretty big news. Now, for listeners that may not be familiar with the land rights issues, basically you're saying you're no longer going to be paying grazing fees and watering fees and whatnot that you had been doing. Now, I interviewed you, 2-3 months back about you taking your stand. And it's really just a way to show the feds that, and to fill in the background information. You still want to pay those fees to your local government. You were talking about actually giving it to the locals, right?
Not a fee, because we're not going to trade one landlord for another landlord. We're saying that, see, when you pay a fee, it's somebody saying that this is mine, I'm leasing it back to you, and you must pay me this fee. But we're upholding these as a property right. They're grazing rights. They're established by preemptive rights or prior appropriation under natural law, common law, and protected under the Constitution. But we want to be supportive of our local government, so we're going to pay a production tax. And say, you're okay. I want to pay a tax to support them, but not a fee. And it's important to make that distinction. And the other important thing is that this is what we're doing. When they do this, they're beginning to uphold the Constitution and say to the whole country that the federal government does not, they indeed do not have the right to own and control 1/3 of the landmass and rule with complete impunity as they have done. So this is a 10th Amendment issue, a 9th Amendment issue, and also in the body and the spirit of the Constitution itself, specifically Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. And so this is a way that as an individual person, as a rancher, can say, here I stand as a single person and uphold the Constitution and the freedoms it protects. And so this is mentioned. What we're doing, we're also fighting for the hunter and the recreationalist and the camper, because they're closing off access to all of these Americans. See, all we're doing is claiming the property right of the grass, and we're protecting the access right of the hunter and the access right of the camper. So we're on the same side of all Americans that want to have access to these public lands, which is simply saying that the federal government does not manage them, that the states and the counties, those are the people that manage these public lands. Because when you consolidate this land and the wealth of the land under one head, you control the resources, you control the land, you control the people.
Do you think this is going to catch? Do you think, obviously yesterday we saw that fire spread, and as word gets out, do you think that we'll see a wildfire of people beginning to take this type of action?
Well, this Friday at noon in the neighboring county, I think Harney County, in Jordan Valley, Bob and Helen Cabray, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sure, has said that they're going to be doing the same thing. Says, media, come and watch us. We're going to do the same thing, and we got other ranchers that are going to do it with us. So these guys put this one together, and we're going to run over there and watch what they're doing. And then Tuesday, Grant County, Nexus, has reached out to us, asked us to come to meet with them, and then I think Wednesday we meet with Malheur County residents who have asked us to come meet with them. And so for 3 weeks, I think we have made tremendous progress for just 3 simple weeks of trying to hold everything together. And people don't understand behind the scenes what we're doing. We have all this land that the Federal Reserve has absorbed, and all the ranchers they have forced off. We have been working very hard in reestablishing those old boundaries of the ranch.
Can you hear me, Jason? Because I have no audio.
Sherry, yes, we can, but we're in the middle of an interview. We're going to have to figure it out. So just hold on for a second.
No worries.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Levoy. Go ahead.
No problem. So we have got almost 1/4 of those boundaries reestablished, and with the old boundaries, the old families that had them, and so that's moving along. That's a very tedious work, but we're already at 25% is what they've told us, and so so see you'll know that when two steps that show that we're that you can measure to show that the measure of the success by the amount of people that sign those emancipation agreements, and then when they actually begin to move back out on the range and begin to go back out and trim and prune the land and make it productive again, and when we see that happening this summer, you actually see the fruits of our labor when the land again once begins to be fertile and productive. And see, if people don't realize this in the city, that when they came in here and sealed off the cultivation of the land, that the birds and the wildlife diminished. The studies have shown that the birds are 14 times, that's huge, 14 times more likely to land up on the farms and the lands than the refuge, because they're cultivated, they're turned up, they're more productive, there's more feed and food, and they have 4 times as many hatchlings on the private land than on the preserve. And so this thing about, there's not going to be a wildlife and stuff here is simply not true. The land will be more productive for wildlife. The land will be more productive for the citizens. The land will be more productive for the people. The people have more access to hunting, to recreation, to camping. The forest will begin to be able to be pruned and trimmed and harvested in a way that the forest will again return in health, return in the ability to provide feed for wildlife and to reduce the threat of devastating, sterilizing forest fires. And so these things are important for the whole United States, and they're always managed best at the local level by the people themselves in a Republican form of government. And that's what we're doing. We're restoring the Republic.
Jason, do you mind if I ask a question?
Please do. Go ahead. Stuart's on the line with us here, Levoy.
Hey, sure. Levoy, this is Stuart Rhodes with Oath Keepers. So you said in Cedar City, that's Sheriff Mark Gower's territory, Iron County. Can you tell us a little more about what's going on there?
Okay, they met in Cedar City, which is Iron County, but the 2 counties that I have met with that are really strong, and that sheriff in Cedar City may be just as strong, but the ones that I met with were in Paiute County and Wayne County, and that's where a lot of those ranchers came from. And so they met in Cedar because apparently there were ranchers over there. They would have met in Paiute. So anyway, the 2 counties,
Sheriff Mark Gower is a very strong sheriff. He's definitely a constitutional sheriff. And I think it's incredibly important for you to find good sheriffs and make that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the best way to rule.
If those 3 counties, because they're kind of neighboring counties, I mean, if they band together, see what happens is the proper way for this to be done is for the sheriffs to uphold and throw the feds out to protect their own citizens. And those sheriffs that I listened to in Paiute County in that meeting they had me come and speak to those number of months back, he says, I will stand up and I will protect you in what you guys have. And that's amazing, because then he can call upon whatever resources he needs. He can call upon the citizens themselves. He can deputize his own people, and so we're only here when a sheriff fails to do his job. Had Sheriff David Ward done his job, provided protections for his citizens here, this whole thing would not have happened. If he would have stepped in and protected the Hammonds until they had a chance to re-examine to that evidentiary hearing that was called upon to be had, a legal redress, just to re-examine it. Had he done that, we wouldn't have been here. Hammonds wouldn't be in prison, and so that's the proper way, and we're so grateful for those constitutional sheriffs.
Guys,
certainly is the strongest way to do it. Then you have what's called doctrine of interposition, is where the sheriff or the state has an obligation to stand up and protect the people against abuse by the federal government, just as the federal government is supposed to protect them from abuse by the states.
Yes. Yeah. And the only reason why the citizens themselves and the militia have to get involved is when the sheriff, which is the last line, fails, and then the citizens, it's left to citizens to uphold the life, the liberty, and the property of his fellow citizens. That we're charged to love our neighbor as ourselves, and so we cannot let what happened to the Hammonds, to Dwight and Stephen, to go unchecked. If we do, it shall become the new normal for America. It will be a type and shadow for all Americans that the federal government and any government may treat them in such manner with impunity. And so we cannot let this stand.
How many sheriffs total do you have that are on board to stand up like that?
Personally, the only ones that I have seen and visited with a little bit are those in Utah, in Wayne and Paiute County. I have. Let me throw in my county sheriff in Mojave County. When the feds came in and says, we want to deal with this Mr. Finicum and we want you to deputize him, he says, no, I'm not going to deputize him. So I'm going to throw in a good word for Sheriff Jim McCabe in Mojave County. So I said, well, thank you, Sheriff McCabe. I appreciate that. He says, I told them not to point guns at you, Mr. Finicum, and Mr. Finicum, I'm saying, don't point guns at them. And I said, you know what? That is a dang good deal. I can live with that. Don't need to point a gun if the gun's not being pointed at me, and that's the way it should be.
Well, guys, is there anyone else who has questions for Levoy while we've got him here? I know he's got a few other interviews he's got to get going for here in a bit, so let's take advantage of when we have him. Sam, do you have any questions?
Well, actually, Sherry was interviewing him, and he runs a ranch in which he brings in foster children and boys that go out and learn to be boys. And I find the fact that those children got whipped off from you when you're actually teaching kids to be people, to be humans, to be self-sufficient, they snatched them up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I know we got it on video, but not everybody's seen our video. Tell us a little bit about that, little boy.
Well, I have always kept that completely separate and isolated and protected because I never wanted them to be, for their own privacy and stuff. But now that they've ripped them out of the home, I felt that it was important to bring it to light, to highlight the lengths at which our government will act in doing a asymmetrical attack upon people who are here. I am the only foster family home in the state of Arizona that has been allowed for years and years for placements, because at this high level of care, this is a therapeutic level. 2 beds is about the max, but I've always had 4 because we've had great success. Because when you get these kids out and you put them on a horse, you go camp, you build a fire, you chase a cow, you do these things because boys need to spend energy. They need to run around with a father figure and have a mother figure cook them some good meals and just give them some normalcy, that they just respond and they thrive. And so I've always kept that very quiet and separate from what I do. But now it's important to just show how our government behaves. And we were told that it came down from the governor's office. The governor's jumped at him now and says, no, this is not what happened. But I have a hard time believing that. I believe what was told to us was what it was. I believe that the feds put pressure on them.
Exactly right, Levoy. I mean, what I have saw and what you were telling us, the whole point is why we're doing this on air is just, I just believe in your integrity as a human being. And that's why I brought this up, because it's like, you're actually out there doing something when most people are doing nothing, to help their fellow man and help generations below them. Because if people like you are not teaching young men and women what then we're just going to end up with a whole country of people that don't know anything, which is seriously happening right now.
That's very true, and to try to bring these children that have known nothing but electronics and dysfunction and abuse, and to try to bring some healing and some direction to them. It's been a great honor for me to be able to work with these wonderful boys. I probably have had, somewhere between 50 and 60 boys that I've worked with over the course of my lifetime. And but I have to go. But there's something I really want to say before I go.
Sure.
Is that I really appreciate you guys in the media that try to get the truth out. I know that it is extremely important here that the truth gets out, and that you provide the light of day helps to provide protection and clarity to our nation, and we commit to you that we shall hold the course for you.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. Sam, real quick, did you have a question before we let Levoy go?
I do.
Who's
Hello?
that? Is that Sergeant Major?
Hello, my name is Bill Cross. I'd like to speak with Mr. Finicum.
Sure.
Okay, Levoy, can you hear me all right?
I can, sure.
Yeah, I'm in Burns and would like to meet face-to-face if I can. I'm with the Patriot Railroad and would like to speak with you.
Wonderful. That would be wonderful. They have my phone number here. Tomorrow.
I'm in Burns. I can be out there at the refuge in about a half hour.
Oh, sure. Go ahead and come on out, and just call me when you leave and give me kind of an ETA. And I do have some other news.
We'll be out of here in about 3 minutes.
Okay. My wife was just come to visit me, and she's about ready to hit the road and head home. And I've got a couple other news people that are sitting here, but come on out. I got one place to get out of the snow and sit down. We can just sit down and visit each other. And could you give me your name one more time?
It's Bill Cross, CROSS.
Oh, Bill Cross.
All right.
All right.
All right, Bill. Thanks.
Excellent.
Yes, and thank you very much. We'll see you shortly.
All right. Thanks, Bill. And thanks to all of you, Jason and Nighthawk and the rest of you. I really appreciate your coverage of things.
Well, Levoy, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot. Levoy, I'll give you a call tomorrow to do a Sitrep too.
Okay. Thanks.
At your availability. So.
All right, guys. Thank you. Sorry about that, Sam. I was trying to get you in there. I don't think the other people heard that you were jumping in there, so I apologize about that. Oh, we might have lost a few people here. Well,
I'm still.
Sherry, you're still there. Let's get an update from you. Sherry, you've been there, boots on the ground. This is Sherry Duvall from redoubtnews, and we helped. You stepped up, and when we put out a call for volunteers with alternative media, I know that we worked with you a little bit beforehand, and love the work you were doing. So we asked you to go down there and help us out. And once we got things squared away, you just did a great job. So why don't you give us your take on what's been transpiring this week, and just give us your thoughts.
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time with the people in Burns and out at the resource center. I'm hesitate because I like to call it the Harney County Resource Center, formerly known as the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. But I don't know what you prefer. As the people at the refuge, they're completely transparent out there. And that was something that impressed me more than anything else, is nobody hesitated in talking to me about any subject. And transparency obviously breeds trust, and I felt very comfortable out there. In town, however, it's everybody is a little bit on edge. I spent quite a bit of time talking to the residents. Most of them have not taken a position on whether or not the occupiers at the refuge are in the right or wrong and how they did it, but they are very grateful that they've been given a voice that they didn't have before. The pendulum is swinging away from the local authorities and into the camp of the people defending the Constitution.
it makes a big difference to them, and they are quite upset at losing their freedoms. And that's exactly how they see it. They realize that they have lost a lot of freedom and they want it back. I think you're going to hear their voices more often, much louder.
Absolutely. I think we got a caller that came on. Caller, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention an article. I'm just going to read you the headline. It's on IntelliHub.com. That's Shepard and Bellis. Clinton Foundation took massive payoffs, promised Hammond Ranch and other publicly owned lands to Russians, along with 1/5 of our uranium ore. And the governor is also mentioned in the article. I think it's something that people should be talking about, and if it's not being talked about here, it's not going to get talked about. So that's IntelliHub.com, and you heard the headline.
All right. Well, thanks for letting us know about that. Thank you.
Sure.
Who are we even talking to?
Vincent in New Jersey.
Vincent in New Jersey. All right. Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Please follow up on that.
All right. Appreciate that, guys. Folks, let's try to keep callers coming keep on topic as to what's happening in the refuge right now. We will look into that and go from there. So is there anything else you wanted to keep going on there, Sherry?
Actually, I wanted to make a comment about Levoy. The thing I noticed about him, number one, he's extremely transparent, very honest, very, what you see is what you get kind of guy. And he's been dealing this issue with his foster kids, and he's kept it very quiet. But, he's been fostering children for many, many years. I'd say close to 2 decades. Never an issue. Never a problem. They've always, praised everything that he's done. And they know everything that he's done. They know how much good he has given to these kids. And all of a sudden, when you speak up and start defending your beliefs and your Constitution, they go after the kids. They go after the families. And that's, the wrong attitude. And, he takes the attitude that he can't teach a child if he can show them. They're taught, he's acting up and doing it. And he gains more respect from me every day. And I just wanted to throw that out.
Right. And I think really the most important thing that we got there was, these counties where the sheriffs are stepping up and you've got the ranchers taking the stand. Folks, that is huge. That brush fire that's getting ready to be lit there is going to go out once this thing is done here in Oregon, and eventually it's going to be done. But it's those brush fires that are being set with these ranchers in the counties that have a good sheriff in them that's going to allow them to really take a stand. Mark my words, folks, it's those places that are really going to make a difference and really going to start those wildfires taking off. So I think, that was very, very important what he's talking about because, again, it's this is going to come to an end at some point. We don't know how it's going to go. We pray for it to end peaceably and as well as it can. But the future is going to lie in those counties where those guys are taking a stand and where we have the good sheriffs. And we've really got to focus on those strong counties and make that a game changer. Stuart, I think you've got you were just texting me on that a little bit. Chime in on that.
Yeah, that's exactly what the bad guys fear the most is a constitutional sheriff that stands up with a united community behind him, because now you've got max credibility and unity in the local community, and that sheriff has his own constitutional mandate under his own oath to defend the Constitution. And so they don't want to tangle with a sheriff like that. Every time a sheriff has stood up, including Mark Galler in Iron County, Utah, that's why I asked him about him. Sheriff Galler, for example, you had the EPA coming in and trying to shut down farmers who'd been farming for generations because they supposedly were infringing on prairie dog habitat, as if the prairie dogs aren't, you can't get rid of prairie dogs. They're all over the place. So Sheriff Gower stepped in and said, "You're not doing that in my county," and they backed off. And every time a sheriff has stood up like that, they have backed off. They don't like the optics of going up against a duly elected sheriff who's standing up for his people. So that is the best way to shift this fight out west. And this is really the only objection I've had to this from the beginning as a matter of strategy and tactics. The right way to do it is to go find a county where you have a good sheriff, have the ranchers there stand up united, and make that your strong point, your focal point to show how it can be done, and then spread it from there. And certainly where the sheriff's not standing up, like at Bundy Ranch, for example, or in Josephine County, or heck, even in Lincoln, in Montana, you do have to defend individual ranchers, but you've got to have at least a rancher who's willing to stand up, and ideally a sheriff. That's your best focus. So my recommendation now that you see the response the feds have had to this, where they've got hundreds of officers now in town, my tactical recommendation is to shift focus to a strong county, have a sheriff stand up, and start that brush fire there and let it spread from there.
Well, let's see if that happens. It sounds like the potential's there, the spark's there, so we'll see what's going on.
I'm concerned about these folks on the refuge not understanding what's possibly coming their way at the ground level right now. And of course, we have concern for kids being there. I think it's not a good idea at all to have children in that refuge. You can look back at the history of the federal government, Ruby Ridge and Waco being the two, most recent examples. It's not a good place for kids to be. And I understand that they have faith in God to protect them, but so do the Branch Davidians. And I think it's best if they get the kids out of there, just in case the feds start to play nasty.
And I would really recommend, there's a really great documentary on the Waco incident, breaking it down. The narrator is an ex-FBI agent. It's on the Oath Keepers site. If you go to oathkeepers.org, scroll down a little bit, it's still on that front page. Take the time, it's about an hour and a half. Take the time to watch that documentary, and you'll realize very quickly that if they're willing to do it then, there's no question that they might be willing to do it now, especially with the legal climate, how it's changed and everything's in their favor now. Go out there and watch that, read up on Ruby Ridge. Both of those could have been avoided. They needed the funding. They needed the optics, and go do the research. Well, why don't we take some calls? If you guys want to talk with Stuart Rhodes, with Sherry, myself, give us a call. It's call-in line is 310-421-4053. Again, that's 310-421-4053. Let's keep it on topic of what's happening in Oregon or the land issue rights surrounding it, and we'll go from there.
While we're waiting, I can let you know some of the other things that some of the residents in Burns are feeling right now, or at least as of the time I left. As far as the constitutional sheriff's situation, they feel like their sheriff has, well, I would say at least half of the people there are indicating they feel like the sheriff has actually been stripped of his power by the federal government. They don't necessarily see it that he's willingly given it up. They feel like it's been taken from him. And that issue needs to be addressed in Burns at one of their meetings. And they need to step up and discuss that with the people so that they understand exactly what is happening out there.
Absolutely. And of course, that's not the case. We've seen the interviews where, Ammon has gone up and asked the FBI 4 times whether or not the sheriff had given them permission to be, performing law enforcement functions within the county. So yeah, that is, it is a key issue.
Absolutely. And whether or not they're saying one thing, like I say, a lot of the people indicated that they just don't feel like he can willingly say it's been stripped of him. There's a lot of fear running through Burns right now, fear of retaliation mostly. They feel like if they step up and say something, bad things will happen, whether or not they're government employees or private employees. That makes no difference to them. They feel like it's going to happen. So they see it sheriff as well. They feel like he's in the same position as they are. So like I say, they should definitely address that soon.
Yeah, and understand there's a huge portion of the population there in the county and Burns work for the federal government, and by working for them, they have to sign a contract stating that they're not going to speak out against. It's issues that are brought up on the public safety committee meetings that I attended, brought up by many of the citizens saying, hey, we feel like we can't even, voice our First Amendment rights as to what's happening here because we are, and really there's some of the only jobs that are out there. It's a false economy. And again, this county used to be the most prosperous county in the state, and one of them, and now is one of the least prosperous. It's a false economy. Everyone works for the government. Everyone works for the BLM, and thus they're afraid to step out of line. So,
absolutely. We covered a rally last week. It was a small rally, a couple of dozen people coming out onto the street corner holding signs, but they all felt the same thing. They felt like they'd been stripped of so many of their constitutional rights, but only, a few of them were willing to speak up because of the retaliation fears.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Stuart, is there anything else that you wanted to add to things today?
I just want to reiterate our position on this. Like I said, I opposed what they did for the matter of just the strategy and tactics, but we definitely agree on the broader mission. And this has been the case since Bundy Ranch. That's why, I was there, helped COWS, Coalition of Western States, get launched along with Matt Shea and a lot of the Western legislators. We were there, part of that. And the goal was to get people to stand up in their counties, preferably with a good constitutional sheriff. So I do think that's the best way to go. I really encourage folks to work on that. It comes from the bottom up in your counties, and I think this is one of the things that has been a good outcome from this is the awareness of the issue and more folks standing up. So maybe in the long run, in the balance, it'll turn out to be a plus. But what I'm worried about is that the feds don't want that to happen, and so my concern is that they may try to drop the hammer on these people to make an example out of them so nobody else stands up. The nail that sticks up gets hammered. So that's why I say I think it's really, it might be a smart move strategy-wise to shift to a constitutional sheriff county. Hey, they got one right above them in Grant County, Oregon. You got a friendly sheriff who's pretty strong. So I would encourage Levoy to look into close by constitutional sheriffs and see if they can't shift the focus there as another way to stand up and get folks going. So I think that part of it, I think, is great. But my concern is the perception inside of the military that this is seen as a Fort Sumter by good guys inside the military. A lot of them look at this and go, well, they took over a government building, and it's easier for the Obama administration and the leftist media to demonize them because of that. So, I would encourage them to think about that strategy-wise and think, well, are we reaching the point of diminishing returns by staying here on the X? Should we shift over somewhere else? And, hey, even finding a private rancher, even there in Harney County, who's willing to host them might be a smart lateral move. So, of course, I'll get attacked for saying that, but you got to think about what you're doing and not just be, you can't just scream Wolverines and say we're going to take a hard stand. You have to think about it. So I do commend them for going out and finding good sheriffs and ranchers who are willing to stand up. I think that's the best way to roll. But I just worry about what will happen long term if they stay on that refuge. I think the FBI will at the very least cordon it off. I don't think they're going to let them come and go freely. At some point, they're going to close it off, and they now have the assets in place to do that. And then the question is, does it go like the Freeman standoff, long and drawn out, or does it go like Waco? And if it goes like Waco, it's going to blow up on our faces. So we just want to see this end peacefully either way. I think it'd be smart for them to go ahead and DD Mao to another county where they got a friendly sheriff and start there on private land. But that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens.
Well, it just seems like, in my opinion, I've never quite figured out why, we saw the Bundy Ranch and this. It's like, why do people do this when the weather is the worst? Just being funny in that.
Bundy Ranch happened. That wasn't a no one chose
Yeah,
to do that. It just
I
happened.
understand that. I'm just being flippant. You understand what I'm saying? But
You're waiting for the San Diego beach
yeah,
conflict to
right.
happen
Yeah,
so you can
yeah,
have beers
yeah,
on
man.
the beach
You
while
know,
the
it's
organization
like, why
has
can't we just have something happen that's like where I can get margaritas? Anyway, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. You know, and it's not just out west. You know, we got things going out here in my, you know, even in my own state. You know, Jason was in here with Denny Pyan and all these people that are down the road from me, and I kept telling Jason, "Hey, come on over, have some dinner." But he got too busy. But you know, I mean, this stuff happens everywhere.
It does, but there is a bit of a divide when you get to the land use issues. Really, from the Mississippi kind of divides the country, and on the West Coast, the West side, everyone understands a BLM land grab. On the East, it's more the coal miners. I mean, Alan Larderi and you know, all those good coal miners out there, and the whole coal system's been shut down. It's all part of the same agenda, but really, you know, you talk about land use issues to someone in Manhattan, and they look at you like you're from another planet because they don't have a point of reference on it.
Right. You know, I talked to you about this before. Me and my wife discovered one of the strangest places I have ever seen. I want to get back over there with Denny and actually document what the hell is going out there with the mountain with the iron doors and all the antennas on top. I've just never figured, you know, we were just wandering around. Me and my wife used to get in our car and just go driving. And we wandered up on this place in the middle of ass nowhere in Denny's country. I mean, just outside of his town. And I've never managed to figure out how to get back there. It's like, did I time travel or work in my, because we went and tried to find it again and we can't.
Well, you know, we actually went and found it, and yeah, there was something there. It was covered up. There was some air ducts and whatnot. But who knows? Could have been old mining. It could have been anything, but it could have been something weird too. So let's real quick. I want to kind of refocus on what we were talking about out here. Now, I want to make it very clear, folks, that you know, these operations, they take people, they take money, they take funding. And if you believe in what's happening out there, I want to suggest that you go out and donate to the people that are taking these stands. You know, if you like what Oath Keepers is doing, please go visit oathkeepers.org. Go look at becoming a member. We need all the members we can get. We need people that are awake, that are knowledgeable, that are willing to take a stand with us when we do these things. Go find out what we're really about. Don't listen to mainstream media. Go directly to our website. Go sign up for our email newsletter. Same thing with Revolution Radio. Revolution Radio has done a lot with trying to send reporters out there. A lot of money's been put out. I know that donations have been down in the last couple of days. I haven't made any in the last few days. So really, folks, if we have a show here today where we had Levoy Finicum and Stuart Rhodes and Sam Culper and Sergeant Major all on at the same time, giving information that you're not getting anywhere else. So
and we made $2.
Yeah. So please,
yesterday,
vote with your wallet here, folks. We've got to support these organizations. We've got to support the Oath Keepers. We got to support Revolution Radio and other like-minded alternative media stations. And you go to freedomslips.com, click on that donate button. I think there's about 300,000 people listening right now. And yes, sir.
Jason, I want to stress, though, that if you want to donate for the buffer operation, you got to go to the Pacific Patriots Network site. They're the ones collecting donations for that particular thing.
Right.
I want to make that clear to folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was about to make that clear as well. But yes, the PPN is separate. Their donations are completely separate from ours. And we suggest you go to their website and use their PayPal button. But just in general, you know, we've been involved with Bundy Ranch. We've been involved with all these things. We've got to, if you can't get out there, if you can't be boots on the ground, odds are you can help support it financially or some other way. You know, you've got the Patriot Railroad guys, the guy who called in earlier in the show. You know, there are other ways you can support these causes when they happen. And I just want to stress that it's critically important that you guys help support these organizations, whatever that might be, whether it's 3% PPN, Oath Keepers, of course, I'm a little biased there, Revolution Radio. We really do need to, you know, people think that we're just able to do this, and it takes a whole lot of resources, a whole lot of stuff going on in the background you never even see. So.
Right, but another thing to stress, though, is that the most important thing listeners can do is to go outside and go next door and talk to the neighbor, start a neighborhood watch, start organizing their communities for mutual aid and mutual defense. That's where it really is, because when the crap hits the fan nationwide, no one's projecting out. You're a fool if you think you're going to be able to go to some other state and do something. You're going to have your hands full of where you're at. So get your own AO squared away. That should be your number one priority.
Absolutely. And, we've got our community preparedness teams. I'm sure the 3% have something like that. You don't need to be a part of an organization. You just go talk to your neighbors. And that is absolutely critical.
I learned this morning, believe it or not, it was in church. Most, well, I don't know about most, but a good bit of our congregation had never read the Constitution. They didn't understand what it said as far as this issue goes. They didn't know that the federal government is not allowed to own land like this. So that's another thing that people can do, is they can start sharing their knowledge of the Constitution and copies of it. And so it will make people aware of what rights they have that they never realized that they did have. Absolutely. And I also wanted to thank Stuart. His leadership in this has been quite awesome. It's been done the way it should be done. Oath Keepers have they've not been making the headlines, but they've been doing it the right way. They've been counseling people in the way they should be done, and they've been had their presence in Burns the entire time. And it's been more than appreciated, their presence there and their guidance and their leadership. And I just wanted to thank you all for that. It wasn't noticed just by me; it's noticed by a lot of the locals.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, Idaho 3% PPN has been doing the lion's share of the work down there. We're just supporting them what they're doing. So, but that's why I said Sergeant Major Santoro. He is the right, as Jason said earlier. He's the right guy for that job, to be on the ground. He just, oozes authority, or not authority, but competency and credibility. And,
leadership.
I think that goes with the FBI too. He's an old sergeant major, so it's kind of hard to not give him the respect he's due. I think it makes a big difference.
For those listening that may not know what the rank of sergeant major is, what accomplishment that is, explain that one, Stuart. What is a sergeant major?
Well, it's one of the highest non-commissioned officer ranks in the U.S. Army. It's very rare, and actually he was an instructor at the sergeant major school, so he helped create more sergeant majors. But it's a very rare rank for someone to attain. It's way up there. It's kind of like being a general on the officer side. So if you're a sergeant major, it's quite an achievement. So he started off in infantry and then OED, dealing with explosives. So a lot of credibility, a lot of experience, and he's a really calm, collected person to have on the ground. So it's a good addition to the PPN team down there, which is why I sent him. Jason, I've got to go, unfortunately, but I want to thank everybody for having me on, and we'll chat again.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and giving us your insight into what's happening there, Stuart. Thanks again.
You bet. Bye.
All right, folks.
He really is a great guy. Very level-headed.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, he really tries to shy away from being in charge of things, especially, in Bundy Ranch and whatnot. People want him to take command, and he wants local people, local leadership, the guys that are in those communities to step up and do that. And that's, why we see, the different counties, 3% and whatnot, those local people really kind of stepping up. So, and he's a lightning rod. So there's a whole lot of, anytime he puts anything out, you've got these trolls and whatnot that just, put out all kinds of crap that isn't true. And part of my job is to go out and counteract a lot of that. There's entire CNN stories that have been put out there that they completely fabricated, didn't check anything. We do have a media contact email. We've got different phone numbers people can call. We've got people like me that, they'll come and fact check with. As a matter of fact, since I've been working with Oath Keepers, the only publication that has called to do a fact check has been Rolling Stone, and that's because after they dropped the ball with the college rape thing that wound up all being false, they fact check absolutely everything now. So, and even then, a lot of the stuff that I had corrected her on didn't make the story. So I would say, if you want the real information that's coming directly from the different organizations, you need to go directly to their outlets. So if that's, the people on the refuge that are now calling themselves the the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom, they have a website. You can go there. It's www.cn.com. If you want to get a hold of the information coming out from the Pacific Patriot Network, which is, for those that don't understand what that is, it's an umbrella organization that includes local Oath Keepers to the Pacific Northwest, 3 percenters, and other militia and like-minded groups that have come together when these types of operations happen. It's never just one group. It's never just Oath Keepers or 3 percenters. It's too big of a thing for just one group to handle. We could never do it. We would fail at everything. We have to work together. So we're using these umbrella groups, and really the Pacific Patriot Network is kind of the first one. It was the leadership of Josephine County, Joseph Rice, and Brandon Curtis from Idaho 3%, and Brandon Rapola, who's our Oregon CPT lead. So, you had guys that are very heavily involved in their own local organizations coming together to create a leadership structure for when these type of operations go live. And, we have intelligence aspects, we've got security aspects, we've got communications aspects, engineering, everything you'd see in a military. We have those types of teams that are working in the background all the time. So it's really quite a thing to behold. And a lot of it we don't talk about because we're not going to, there's a certain amount of operational security that we can't get out there. So anyway, yeah, so let's, we got 40 minutes left. We'll just kind of freeform it from here. We'll go ahead and take questions out of the chat room, take questions from, if there's any hosts that want to get at it on Skype, or you want to call into the call-in line. Again, we'll try to keep it with land right issues and what's happening. We've got about 20 minutes.
Actually,
go for it.
Let me do a network update. Okay. So 2 days ago, we, and I'm not going to go into any kind of details, but I started with Jason and Sherry, Readout News, started digging into some information, and we discovered some stuff. I'm not going to go into any details, but I want to let you know that this happened. All right. So we started digging into some stuff, and we discovered some things that I don't think we were supposed to discover because it was in the process of being purged from legal records. Immediately after that, in the morning, I have 6 fiber circuits here for my full 300 megabyte fiber. And that morning, all of them went down except for one. I don't know how they missed one, but it's intermittent at best. And they took down those fiber circuits, and Windstream has been very reluctant to come fix this. They keep saying it's because of the weather. The roads are fine. The roads are fine unless the guys just don't understand going out in the cold, but the roads are fine. I went down to my own CO, which means central office from the phone company point of view. It's accessible. You can get to it. In fact, I've seen tire tracks where somebody went there anyway. And they will not. I have done, and this morning I spent 90 minutes on hold, and they're going, and they did a escalation of a ticket, get somebody down there to fix it. And they said, we won't go fix it because of weather. All right, so I don't know who the pussy is that can't get out and get in his truck and go down there and fix that stuff. I mean, I have no idea who the actual technicians are. All they got to do is go down there to the CO, which is three-quarters of a mile from me, and reset those fiber blocks, and they just won't do it.
So, Hawk, it amazes me that you still are surprised by this stuff, man. Come on, how many times have you been hacked when you've got some sort of information going out?
Surprised by it. Yeah, I'm not completely surprised by it. It's just, it's very frustrating. Pull your hair out kind of stuff.
I'm amazed all the times that you keep us on the air because let's face it. I mean, I lost all, I've had different guests on before that we've had sudden technical difficulties show up as soon as they start going on something. But really, it was when we were at the refuge about to go live with all of the leadership of the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom that we had everything up. And then just boom, 5 seconds before we go live, it's like someone hit a light switch. And we know that technology's out there. They, of course they're going to use it. So anyway, it's
our site went down last night for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, maybe half hour. It could be that we were so overloaded with people looking to get the information that it crashed it. I don't really want to say it's a conspiracy theory type of thing, but I'm finding that a lot of people that are reporting on these issues, they're having technical issues. Like I say, whether or not it's being hacked or whether or not it's just being overloaded with people trying to get the information, I don't know.
I'll say I'm a conspiracy theorist, and then I'm pretty sure we are at times hacked.
Oh, actually, I know for a fact that most of my circuits got hacked and shut down. Somebody broke into the circuits, and the fact we're on air is a miracle. Because they missed one. That's all. That's all I can say.
You just told them it too. You just totally let the cat out.
Oh, well, they're not going to find this other one because I'm moving it every 15 seconds.
All
right. So anyway, they missed one. And so that's why we're still on air. And people go, oh, things keep cutting out. It's because I got to keep moving the circuit. I have to keep moving the IP of the circuit because it's just under nonstop crap. And, and then the worst thing about all this is I have literally spent between yesterday, today, and the day before about 12 hours on hold with people that are very confused as to why nobody is going down there and fixing this.
I can clear that up real quick for you. Is because the feds are telling them not to. Or someone is.
Well, I'm kind of getting that impression myself.
All right, folks. Well, you know what? We got about 15 minutes. I want to say real quick, I've got a video I just went out. We've got we're going to be putting together, I think, some of the top egregious land right violations that have been happening in the West lately, and definitely one of them is the gentleman that I went and talked to this weekend. He is a miner, another miner. I actually met him while we were on operation with the Lincoln County White Hope mine. These were guys that came and introduced themselves to us and said they were having some problems as well. And he's got just a pond. He's got a few ponds that he's pulled all the regulations for. This is out of Basin, Montana. Him and his wife are small-time miners. They also do wildfire fighting. They've got a contract company that does hotspot wildfire stuff. He's got 3 ponds that there's a couple different people that I'm going to be putting their names out there when I break the story, but that have just been giving them all kinds of trouble. And they've fabricated evidence. They tried to convict him of putting dredge material into the waterways. And this is the same EPA that just destroyed that river in Colorado. And it's definitely, this doesn't connect to a waterway. They actually went out, took one of the hoses off their fire truck, and tried to drain the water out to the waterway and videotaped it, and fabricated evidence came up in court, and it's just crazy. So just I'll be breaking that this week. I'm going to have some video, audio clips that we'll be doing next week. Hopefully have him and his wife on the show as well. And we'll have updates from Oregon as well. Actually, we just got on the call here, Daniel Bregman, who is the owner of Numana Foods. How you doing, Daniel?
Hey, doing great. Great to talk to you, Jason.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Numana Foods is one of the sponsors of the show here. And we're just about to launch a new website, oathpreppers.com, where we're going to be able to do that. So, yeah. What do you got? What do you want to talk about real quick here, Daniel? We don't have much time.
Well, I saw this call. I just want to get back into you and just say hello and how excited we are to be involved with you and just really looking forward to a good relationship and helping a great audience prepare the best we can.
Absolutely. Well, again, the website's going to be, it's not up yet, but I think it'll be later this week. I'll put a big promo push out when it is.
Next week. Absolutely. Next week it'll be just a couple other things we'll go over early next week, and we'll be ready to go.
And it's going to have some unique features too, folks, because a lot of these times people want to send food to these operations, like what's happening right now in Oregon, and unless they know someone that's involved with the the Patriot Railroad. It can be very hard to do unless you just truck it down there, and then there's a lot of issues. Well, we're going to have something set up that if you want to donate food, there'll be an option right on this website we're creating where you can donate food to the operation, and it will just be delivered straight to them. We'll working in conjunction with the people there. So anyway, thanks for coming on real quick, and I'll talk with you later, Daniel. Thanks for calling.
All right, we got everybody closed in. That was last night's Sitrep. We started the night with tonight's situation report out there. We had Levoy, Finicum, and everybody else. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing pretty good, Hawk. How are you doing, my friend?
Not too bad. We were teasing each other a minute ago.
Hey, you got to have some humor, man.
Yeah,
gallows humor. Otherwise, you're just going to go crazy.
That's what I keep trying to tell everybody. Let's have a little fun, because what is genocide without a little fun?
I'll tell you, have you seen something that's fun and yet still kind of makes you do a little face palm? Did you guys see the video put out today by? I don't even know if the guy is associated with the folks over the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom over there, but it was filmed right outside of the gate there. And I'm going to give you the link here, but it's a guy that looks like he's claiming to be Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey's brother, big, large gentleman in a diaper, basically a sumo thong, challenging Governor Christie to come out and do the sumo wrestling thing with him for 10 rounds. And if Chris Christie wins one of them, he says, "Oh, I'll go." But if he wins all of them, well, then, yeah. So it's gallows humor, but at the same time, guys, you got to keep your messaging consistent, straight, serious, and professional.
Well, it just seems like politics these days is entertainment anyway. Yeah, right?
Yeah. It really does. Here, I'm going to go ahead and let me get this over to you just so you can see it, because it is definitely a sight to behold.
All right. Do you want to do video? We've been doing no video for hours. You want to do some video?
Yeah, I can do some video.
All right. Throw me your video. I'll copy it in and put it in, and then put my own video in. So people can tease me at just what an ugly son of a bitch I am.
Well, you make me look better looking.
Yeah, see, that's how that works. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Who else is going to give you shit, Hawk? No one else in the station is going to give you shit. I'll give you shit though.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. All right. So anyway, what's been going on? What has been going on?
It's been a pretty quiet day on the Western Front there. Checked in with Sergeant Major a couple times. Now, there is a pretty big decrease in the vehicles that are there on the at the airport, and just law enforcement presence altogether has dramatically decreased today. Now, we don't know why that is, if they're just rotating out, if they're just stepping down, or that they're gathering someplace else. So, we have not really any answers to why that would be, but it is something that we have noticed. There was an incident earlier in the AM where a local gentleman was very intoxicated, and he made some very direct threats that he was going to go down to the refuge with a gun and start killing people, shooting them. But he was detained right away, and so that was just nothing of real importance there. Now, Levoy Finicum, who we had on the show last night with Stuart Rhodes, we had talked with him about possibly some options to get folks off of the refuge there and maybe over to one of these counties that we've been talking about in Utah, where the sheriffs are so friendly, and not friendly, but good sheriffs, constitutional sheriffs, and willing to take a stand with some of the ranchers that are signing this agreement to go against the BLM, to no longer be a part of that system. So, it was suggested, well, why don't we move you guys out of the refuge and get you into one of these counties, and, where you can continue to do this work. But Levoy, of course, put out I don't know if you guys saw it, just put out about a couple hours ago, video stating very clearly and unequivocally that they are not going to be leaving anytime, and that those buildings will continue to remain not the property of the federal government. They will no longer be such. So I've got to respect the man for his convictions, and Levoy I consider a friend. I think he's a good stand-up man.
He's a good guy.
Truly believes in what he's doing.
He's definitely a good guy. I found here. Look, I got my hat on. Oh wait, you can't see me. That's right. Anyway, I got my Outback hat on. I was going to put on my sombrero, but I figured it'd piss people off.
I didn't wear my cowboy. I just wore my Oath Keeper's hat.
Well, you need to mail me one of those.
I got an extra one. I will mail you one of my hats.
Mail me one of those. Anyway, I was talking to Levoy earlier, and then we got to talking about the fact that the sheriff and the judge, or not the sheriff, the judge canceled the town meeting tonight.
Yeah, he did.
I have the solution for that. If anybody wants to pay attention or listen, I doubt anybody will, because it always seems like I'm always talking and nobody's paying any attention. But anyway, as a lifelong, I spent 25 years on the road as a musician, and whenever we would run into an issue exactly like they're running into right now, we would call a tent company. And there are a lot of tent companies. They do this kind of stuff for circus.
What company?
Tents. Big tents.
Spell it.
TENTS.
Tents. Okay.
Tents. Like circus tents.
Right.
Yeah. And there are several companies out there that actually do this, and they heat them. They have gas heat, blast furnace kind of gas heat in there, in which, I grew up in a religion that actually used these kind of companies. They would come in and set basically a 3-ring circus tent up and heat them, late November, and to do their
like an old school revival type.
Yeah, like the revival stuff. So, there are a lot of these companies out there that you could find, and, I'm sure they're funding. Listen, I have got to be sure that the country and the patriots are funding these people, and they have to have the funding, or I've lost my mind, to actually bring one of these tent companies in and do an actual, real community meeting right there, in which everybody can talk
That's not a bad idea, actually. That's something that may happen. Now, I've got some news that well, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this or not. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there because, and I'll preface it with, we're working on it and we're trying to make it happen, but it looks like I may be heading out there again, not this week, but next. And I will be joined with my friend and kind of rock star in the Liberty Movement, Jordan Page. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a musician.
Yeah, I heard
Does all the big Liberty Fest and whatnot. He just has a big Arm Yourself single drop over the holidays. But he's thinking of going out there to do a quick musical concert for the guys. So yeah, maybe get a tent for that, and there will at least be a PA system there for that. So I mean, that could definitely be used for public meetings. But yeah, that's a good question. Why don't they just use, since it's now going to be the Community Resource Center, they just use that for it?
Well,
I guess there's politics of not going there.
Yeah, me and Sherry were talking about it, and she's looked at all the buildings, and none of the buildings were actually built big enough to do anything like that. And I'm like, well, they're all used to the cold. Why not?
They've got some garages out there that might be big enough. There were some garages that were pretty big, like big multiple garages with large equipment.
Right. Well, kind of the point she was trying to make was, maybe the buildings that were big enough are too full of stuff and all that kind of stuff. But, and I'm like, well, let's just bring in a circus tent and heat it and bring everybody in. The sheriff from the county next to them and the California sheriff have both said the same thing. Let's end this. Send the Hammonds home because they're political prisoners anyway.
There's a lot more sheriffs that are going to be coming out here very soon to continue that message. There's a lot of sheriffs beginning to step up to say, it's not right what's happening. Let's figure out a way to end this peaceably, that we have no loss of life, that we just, they realize what a predicament it'll be, what will happen if this ends in a Waco. I mean, that's not good for anyone, folks. We're looking at really bad stuff coming our way if this ends in a massacre. And
I don't think this is going to end in a massacre. I think they learned, they went through so much, the FBI and everybody, they went through so much bad press. With Waco and Ruby Ridge, I don't think that's how it's going to end if nobody acts stupid on the compound.
I pray you are right. I hope you are right. And I definitely see. I don't know where it's going to go. I honestly don't. I don't know if it's going to just put them off and try to just wait it out.
Yeah, we can't know where it's go. We can't know where it's going to go. But this is one of the reasons where Levoy had agreed to do a daily Sitrep with us, because the media is leaving, and if anything is going to happen, now's the time for it to happen. And I've been looking at, I get, Google Earth up, and I've been really investigating all of that area. I found a place, the intelligence we were talking about yesterday with the guys in the snowmobiles. There's a place 18 miles north of them that is a perfect place for those guys to go. It's 18 miles away, and snowmobiles would be perfect. Well, boy goes, well, then it's a good time. It's a good thing that the snow is melting. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Again, it's just, it's so hard to know, because we know that they're ramping up their presence. We know that they're, but then again, we're seeing that today. It's hard to know what they're planning. I don't even think they know what they're going to do at this point.
No.
I think they know if they do something stupid at the refuge, someone starts, shooting a gun or something, well, sure, they're going to go do something about it. But if it remains calm and peaceable, I don't think they even really know how to game this out.
I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I think they're waiting for these guys to peter out. But there's another county right next to them. They're actually want them to come over there in Grant County. And,
right, yeah, I saw that sheriff's interview.
Yeah, And I think Levoy and all those guys, if they can get everything worked out, and I think a tent revival kind of thing that's heated for all that could get that community to the point that they would start actually occupying that place themselves, and then these guys could lift roots and move to the next problem. Because, we discussed this earlier. I mean, it's way, these guys can jump up, and move fast. All these guys at the FBI, that's all paperwork and all that kind of stuff. They can move way faster than the FBI. So, it's like, in my opinion, I think they ought to just get it done, then get it to the community, let the community take over the center, and then get up and move to the next place. And we keep starting these bonfires all over the country. How could the FBI or any of the LEO even try?
Well, I really think that we saw the most important thing transpire yesterday when these ranchers, it was just started off as Levoy was telling us on the show last night. And for those of you who didn't have a chance to listen to it, I've got the video rendering right now. But a 2-hour video takes a while to render. So tomorrow morning I should have it up, and we'll get the link up on Revolution Radio and all the other sites. So we'll get that out to you guys if you want to hear it. But the point is, these ranchers came. There was just one of them that was going to sign this agreement to no longer be a part of the BLM, and he had a sheriff in his county was going to back him. So, but that just during the period of time that guy signed this document, another rancher said, you know what, I'm going to do it too. And then another, and then another. I mean, it literally was like a fire starting. And now we've got, two different county sheriffs in Utah willing to stand up and protect these guys if they, people who are taking this stand. That is the future. That's how we take our country back. So, and it really is, that I think is the biggest thing to come out of this week, that if we can get that moving, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, taking our country back is not going to be an easy thing. People are waking up now. And I'm not, a lot of people go, I run a station that just covers everything, UFOs to, crystals, make everything okay. But, when we really think about what we're talking about is, the wake-up process now, as into our government and the politics and all that kind of stuff, which is actually my interest, is really starting to kick in, and the veil is starting to come off. And I think it's starting to concern people, and I can say I'm pretty sure it's concerning people due to some issues I had to deal with this weekend when I got a tap from the NSA over here on my network.
Really? What? Tell me about that. What happened there?
Well, I told you earlier. I've already actually.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking with the.
Yeah. NSA gave me a network tap. Here you go. This is how it goes if you get too close to the truth, and I'm sure that will continue. But, there just comes a point when we have to decide what exactly is it we're going to do. And I have backups, by the way, folks. I have backups all the way back to old Linux, sign-in, dial-in kind of stuff from back in the 80s, if we have to go that far.
Do you remember the billboards? Like before the internet, it was all BBSs?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I have 9 BBSs.
We're showing our age here.
Yeah, connected and built up with phone numbers ready to go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so that's about all I have on the refuge. There really wasn't too much going on there. Again, we're kind of in this waiting game, trying to see what's happening, trying to figure out what's going on. We're monitoring things. There wasn't any big activity as far as, lots of aircraft or suspicious stuff. So really just kind of a quiet day, other than the guys there making it very clear that they are not going to, while they, respectfully thanked us, those people that were advising them to maybe make a lateral move to a secure county where they would have the protection of a sheriff. And then, they would also have support of these, some of the national organizations, 3% Oath Keepers, whatnot. We'd help facilitate the security of a move like that. But they made it very clear that, they believe in what they're doing and they need to stay there, and that's what they're doing. So, again, I respect these guys. It's not necessarily the actions I would take, but, these are guys that I've stood shoulder to shoulder with since Bundy Ranch on. And, they're good patriots, they're good guys, and they can make their own decision. And as long as they get, the kids out of there and whatnot, that I think is the most important thing. And I think that they are beginning to understand that they're going to need to get those kids out of there.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Definitely.
people show up. I mean, there was a whole troop of kids that showed up. There was like 6 of them with a couple that showed up at Bundy Ranch, and kind of some inside golf there as far as what happened is we had that big blow up, and we got all that spun up because people were saying that there was a drone attack. And to tell you what happened, I was there in the van with Stuart Rhodes during this whole situation. So we got a call. Actually, we got a couple calls. This was late in the afternoon, early evening, from a couple of intelligence sources to 2 different parts of the country, 2 different contacts with the same story that a drone strike had been put on the table and okayed for that night at true dark. Now, we figured it was not the case and that it was probably just a psyop to see reactions and see, kind of game us out. But at the same time, there were women and children there. Specifically, there was this singing troupe and whatnot with their parents and other people there, and we had limited time. And we actually sent a retired intelligence officer. He'd done intelligence his whole life to speak with a gentleman in Texas. He spoke with him for a couple hours, I think. And it was his view that the gentleman who he was speaking to, was interviewing, believed what he was saying to be true. Now, I'm not saying that information was true, but the guy believed it to be true, according to this guy who had spent a career in intelligence gathering. So we were faced with, well, shit, it's probably a psyop, it's probably, nothing, but at the same time, if there is a possibility that something could happen and women and children that shouldn't, it's one thing if it's grown adult men and women that are there, patriots that know that their life is at stake and they believe in their convictions. But with children, I really think it's a different story. And, my daughter asks me all the time to come to every operation that I ever go on. And every time it's the same answer. It's, honey, I'm sorry, but no, I would be irresponsible in putting you in danger if I were to bring you to what I'm doing at work. And I'm sorry, someday when you're old enough, if you still want to come with me, I'll be more than happy to let you, but that's when you are an adult. And so it's just, we're faced with those types of decisions. And of course, there wasn't a drone strike, and it all got spun out of, that we had pulled back. And we didn't pull back. We got off the X. The way Bundy Ranch was, it was basically a kill box where they had everyone stationed. They didn't allow us to dig in. It was just like a quarry, like a pit, literally, where people were staying. So we just got off that X and moved back out. Now we were patrolling security patrols from, 60 miles out the highway all the way down to, actually on the property. But we just moved out of that area. But everyone took that as, oh, they're running off. But we did try to get the women and children out there, and we told them, look, guys, we've gotten this report, and we think it could be credible. We don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but we don't think you should take a chance. And again, we're faced with that same situation going on now, and I got to just appeal to the guys there. If you're listening, if anyone's listening that has connections with any of these guys, and, I've done my part with all my friends to express my views to them that, hey guys, I back you with what you're doing, but you got to get the kids out of there. You got to get the, those that don't need to be there.
Actually, I did the same thing earlier on somebody else's show, let's get the kids out. And somebody came in the chat room and says, because I said, you can't be using children or women and children as human shields in there. I have no idea who came in the chat room. They were a zippy, and they were like, what they said was, "Oh, we're all human shields. The kids stay." And then after I said, "Wow, that sounds like a really Islamic statement," and then they left. So,
Well, I don't know. I feel as an adult, it is my job to keep children safe, keep my children safe, and other children safe. Now, I understand they have strong religious convictions. They feel God is going to protect them, and I sure hope that's the case. However, the Davidians thought God was going to protect them too, so it didn't work out so well. Well, I'm a religious person, and I believe in a higher power, and I certainly believe that, in order for us to win this battle we have with the powers that be, we need to have God on our side, whatever that, your view of God is. We need that. However, I don't think trusting God to keep the federal government from killing children in a standoff situation I would not take that risk just because we've seen it happen. It happened in Ruby Ridge. It happened in Waco. It has happened, folks. Why would it not happen again? It is a possibility.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my personal opinion is no one's seen God since Noah.
Well, I don't know. Anyone who listens to me knows that I'm very, very much a libertarian.
I'm not saying
I'm a religion's great.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not spiritual, but honestly, the God we're all talking about, we've not seen for a long time. And if you really look at the history in the Bible, do we want to go into this? We probably shouldn't.
No, let's keep it on.
Yeah, we'll just leave it off that.
We'll talk about it later off there.
Because somebody unsubscribed the other day because I said, let's not go into religion because that's not really relevant. And then they go, oh, no freedom of religion? I'm out of this channel. And it's like, really?
Man, you just can't win with some people.
You'll never win. You'll never win either way.
You can't make everybody happy. I mean, I try to do my best with my stories and my reporting and my show to give a fairly truthful, balanced view. Now, of course, my opinion comes into things because that's the style in which I write and do things. However, I don't ever try to censor people. I just, but you always have the people that you just can't make everybody happy all the time. And you know what? There is a great divide in our culture right now. You have people that see problems, that are preparing for them, that feel that things are not going the right way and want to do something about it. And then you have those that just think everything's great. They're plugged into their, their iPads and their phones and football and everything else. And they think it's great that, instead of cattle grazing, that we've got these turtle refuges that,
Well,
man, they're just living in the bubble. And I make it the turtle refuge because that was at Bundy Ranch down there in Bunkerville. They did have a turtle refuge, and they had over 4,000 tortoises there. Guess what happened when the funding ran out? These guys at the BLM are so concerned about these turtles. Guess what happened when that funding ran out to those 4,000 turtles? Did they let them out to live off of the land and live happy little turtle lives? Nope. They killed them all. They killed them all. How realistic do you think they really are about their being so concerned about these endangered species when they do things like that? And it has nothing to do with these species. It has everything to do with grabbing our land and growing their empire. That's exactly what they're doing.
Exactly. And it's such an incredible waste of turtle soup.
Yeah. And they say that the cows shouldn't be there. They're not part of the the biosphere. That's crap too. You know why? What was here before the cows were here?
The buffalo.
Indigenous species used to roam from, Mexico up through Canada, throughout all the western states.
Yes, buffalo by the billions.
Yeah, man, they're kind of like a cow. They did the same stuff. They ate the same things. They, took a crap and it fertilized it, went into the ecosystem. Man, they're gone. So, cows back in there is not that different from what it used to be.
You know, our local grocery store started selling buffalo hamburger, and that stuff is like $12 a pound.
Yeah, it's expensive. We got it all over up here because it's Wyoming and Montana, I think, have some of the biggest buffalo populations in the country.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I buy ground beef to supplement some fat into my venison and elk because that's really up here and that's all we eat. But it's so abundant. I mean, you literally driving into town. It's like a video game. It really is. It's dodging deer up here is an art form you must master if you're going to survive.
Yeah, we have a lot of deer here, but they're compared to your deer, my deer are dogs.
Yeah, I've seen some lately up in Oregon too, like those little black-tailed deer. Man, they're like mini deer.
Yeah,
we got muleys up here that are the size of elk. I mean, big game. I have to take a picture of my big skull that I got from my elk the other year with my bow. It's just, I mean, the thing stood 12 foot high when it was, standing upright.
When I lived in upstate New York, I got a moose. We ate on that damn thing for a month and a half. To the point that it was like, okay, this stuff's starting to get tough. And I had a German Shepherd at the time that was one of the happiest German Shepherds you have ever met in your life. So anyway, I mean, and I live in a state where if somebody kills a deer with their car, you have to make a call and do all this kind of stuff and fill out paperwork to take it home. And by the time you get that done, that meat's bad.
We actually have a law here that if you hit a deer, you can actually take it. You have to, call it in later, but you can actually put it in the back of your car and butcher it and take it.
We can take it, but we cannot pick it up off the road until it is approved after filling out some paperwork and making a call. By the time, it just kind of depends on the temperature. Right now, if I hit a deer, it would be cool because it's under 32 degrees. But, there's been times I see deer that were just fresh hit. And, I'd go, oh, man, come on, pull over. Of course, my wife won't. I don't have enough trash bags in the car. But anyway, the wife won't let me if I would say it. But, let's get the hands and the backstrap off that thing right now.
Oh, man, my wife knows. Actually, she's all game for it. We live off elk and deer. That's our, and fish. That's how we eat our meat. And I just would fear for the damage to the car. But man, if I do damage to my car, you're damn right I'm taking that deer home and butchering it.
Hell yeah.
But we do live a different lifestyle. But folks, it is time for us to really start thinking about that. I want to definitely reach out to those folks out there that don't live such a subsistence lifestyle, that maybe aren't so prepared, and start thinking about learning to can food, start learning how to hunt and fish, and to be more prepared. You really, whether that's storable foods that you buy, like from New Manor or something, or stuff you do yourself. We do most of our own. We've always done our own canning, and we started doing it just because we're so poor. But folks, look at what's happening in the market, what's happening in the world around us. It is time to start getting ready. It's past time.
Yes, definitely. And that's kind of one of the things I've always been. I'm a prepper myself. We put up. We can and put up a lot of our own foods. This year we learned we started canning cabbage, which is a zero acid, so that's kind of a challenge. And we got cabbage put up. We got 200 jars of tomatoes put up just this year, not including the 130 we already had set. I think around 200 jars of green beans. Stuff like that. It's like, we grow a garden and we got the greenhouse and we have the Mennonites and all that stuff that we work with, and we put up a lot of stuff. And I came up with a scheme. It's not a scheme. It's not like I went and hurt anybody, but what I did is I set up a vegetable stand in my house, out on my front porch, and people would buy the vegetables. And what vegetables did not sell, we can't. And I literally put up Liz is going to come punch me in the head if I don't say this. Liz put up about 400 jars of assorted vegetables for free because of the vegetable stand. That money that we were selling the stuff at the vegetable stand was actually covering the money that we were spending on canning, electric, and everything else.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to cover?
No, that'll be it.
All right. Well, I think I am going to probably be heading back to Burns, not this week, but early next week. So I'll be on the ground there.
Right.
I think we got the okay to send Sherry back. I just heard from Stuart. Let me just double check that.
Yeah, as long as if Stuart can cover her hotel room, I'll cover the rest.
Yeah, he says we can cover her room. We can do that. So
right,
we've
cool.
got a green light, so we'll get her moving. So we've got people there live on the ground.
All right, sounds good. Okay, we're going to get out of here. Say bye. Wave.
All right. Have a good night, folks. We will check back with you later. Be sure to catch my show Sunday nights, 4 to 6 p.m., The Patriot Report. And I'll be back just checking in randomly like this.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Hawk.
Good night, man. All right, folks. See you tomorrow with the situation update. Don't get lost. Anyway, sorry. I had to go figure out some things to close down. Talk to you later, folks. We will talk to you. Let me get this sorted out. We will talk to you tomorrow. See ya later. Goodbye. Hope you got some information that works for you. Peace out. Bye-bye.